We have a request to amend the agenda by Jamie Davis to put on the agenda under new business, discussing 2 meetings a month. So, council, what is your, anyone have any comments about that? If not, we'll just go ahead and add it to it. Okay.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
You need a motion to amend.
Have motion to amend the agenda for that added. Have a motion, Mark?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second? Second by Brenda, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay,
Thank you, Mayor.
all right.
So is that the first Monday, the first Tuesday of each month, back-to-back nights?
Well,
We'll discuss it.
We're gonna discuss it.
I think.
You're being funny.
Yeah.
Council, in front of you in your agenda, you have some minutes along with some executive session minutes.
Motion.
Have a motion to approve both of those.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? If you will pass those closed session minutes back to Kim, please. Give the fire department report, please.
Well, good evening, y'all. January started off 7 calls for service. February is not slowing down. I think we're at like 45 now, and we're only 10 days in. So, staying busy on that front. Top of the calls, started CPR and first aid training for city employees that signed up. We have about 30 city employees that have signed up to take CPR. 1 or 2 from each department is coming in. Along with all the police officers, we should have everybody trained in CPR first aid by Friday. We had our site inspection from the State Bureau of EMS. I was telling you guys about that last month. They came, looked at everything that we have, the new training room, all the equipment and tools and stuff that we have. And I'm proud to say that they awarded us a training entity with the state of Missouri. So that means now we can host, put on emergency medical responder and emergency medical technician courses, as well as offer continuing education credits to those that need those to keep up their licenses. So that's a pretty big step there. Last Saturday, I've got, I think, 5 in there from our department that needed it. Running through, doing it a couple of Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then 3 Saturdays. It's a 40-hour class. There's really no certification that goes along with it. It just, they get a course completion that shows that they have the training. And then March 18th, I plan on starting my EMT class. I've already had 10 people just on our department that have shown interest and want to sign up for it. So that'll greatly benefit the citizens here in town. Ordered more address numbers, and those have come in. I sat down with Chief Smart today. We're coming up with a plan. We're going to start going out, maybe not tomorrow, because depending on what the roads look like. But we're going to start hitting that pretty hard and heavy Monday through Friday, making sure everything has an address number on it. Businesses, houses, because that's time we can't waste going to an emergency call. We were not selected again for the Firehouse Subs grant. When that does open again, I'll put in for it. I decided to take a break 3 times in a row now, and wanted to focus more on the training entity for this 3-month period. So now that that's out of the way, I'll be able to compile everything and apply again, and eventually they'll get tired of seeing it and just give it to me. So pretty much all we've been working on.
All right, any questions?
Address that you're going around and make sure everybody's got address. Would you be changing some people's addresses, or are you going to put?
No.
Are we going to line this up like they talked about 5 years ago?
We're going to do the address that they have on record right now, If it changes, at that point, that's when it'll get changed.
So 911 is in the process, Webb, of doing all of that, checking all of that. And we should have something probably, the way I understood it, April of this year.
Yeah, it sounds
Is when
right.
they're supposed to finish. And there will be some places that will need some new addresses, but until they get done with that study, we won't know exactly what those will need to be.
So at that time, 901, 903, 905, instead of 901, 854, 999,
That's
877.
Correct. But
That's
it's-
where we're at right now, in
Yeah.
some parts of town.
yeah, and basically right now, all we're worried about is making sure it has a number so we can see it. Because there's so many houses that we pull up to that don't have anything on the front. And I'm just driving around myself, I've noticed even, up there in that neighborhood north of Walton there, they don't have addresses on them, and those are, I don't know why they didn't put the numbers on it, but they'll have them on there, I'd say, probably before the end of March.
Well, we was at a place at one time, we had offered the people to put those numbers on their houses for a small fee, which
Yeah.
wasn't nothing.
And that's still how the ordinance reads, it's like $15. But, and that's just a recommended donation, they don't have to, we just need to make sure they have addresses.
Well, I asked before when we were talking about this, my house originally was built facing Wall Street. So my address is 403 North Law, but my house faces on 4th Street.
Right, and that's gonna be a 911 thing. I'm not changing anybody's address. That's way above me. So,
Smart, let them do it.
so,
All right, anything else? Thanks, sir, appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Chief Bledsoe?
Good evening. Busy month for us, even though the numbers don't really show that. We're in the process of getting ready for the next budget year because our city administrator wants to get an early jump on it, and I agree with her. I think that's a good idea. My two guys that are in the academy, they're doing great. I'm hoping to get one of those guys graduated in May and get him on the road, and the other one following up in June. Members that are on our SOG team are going to be leaving this next month to train in Pennsylvania with the Navy SEALs in CQB tactics. That ought to be, and it's at no cost to us besides maybe some fuel. But I think that'll be some really good training for those guys. The thing that you guys want to hear is our trash and junk complaints are picking up. So,
No way.
yeah, always thankful for that.
I was pretty impressed by what you just said.
What's that? Yeah. Yeah, and those guys, I mean, you don't see a whole lot of what they do behind the scenes, but like this last week, we served a pretty high-risk search warrant here in town. Ended up getting some stolen trailers and quite a bit of methamphetamines off the street. So, but those guys, they're we're pretty fortunate to have them. And that search warrant, that was in partnership with the South Central Drug Task Force and Comet
Does that
as
group
well.
still consist of area, cities, and county officers?
Yes, the majority is. I mean, there's a couple of county guys, but the majority is the Mountain Grove officers.
And is it most all of them that's going?
There's quite a few. There's some Mansfield officers as well. So, but it's a good combination of guys. So, but that's what our months look like. I think, Clint and I think we spent about 4 hours the other day out on the highway with the semi-wreck and the freezing cold. It couldn't have been the day before when it was 73 degrees. It had to wait until it was great.
And
The
how
weather
many's going to
turned.
Pennsylvania?
I think there's 6 total.
Okay. That'll be good, it'll be a good trip.
Yep. And like I said, not all those are our guys. There's 3 or 4 from our department that's going. So
That accident on 60, thank goodness nobody was hurt.
I'm telling you, he was very fortunate, very fortunate.
Yeah, that was a load of seed corn,
Yep.
made a mess, didn't it?
And, I want to give props to the city too, because they went out and helped out, got us off the highway a lot quicker than it would have been.
saw the trucks out there. They take some equipment out there to help load it too? I know I saw them load some on the record trucks.
Yep.
That's
So-
good. All right, any questions for the chief? Thank you, sir. Be safe. One thing I forgot, Chief Givens,
Sir.
when you start doing your training with what you were given the good okay on, let the council know, please.
Yes, sir.
That's gonna be some important aspect, because your training building here, there's not one real close that can do the same thing, is there, other than Springfield?
Springfield, West Plains, and I think Houston, yeah.
They also can do those trainings?
I know Springfield can, I'm not sure about West Plains or Houston.
Because I think that's good for this area. That would save people from having to drive so far. Good, thank you. All right, council, you have the senior citizen report there. Had 4,426 meals. Looks like that's going up. You also have the budget on there. You take a look at. I can't. There. Becky, you want to talk a little bit about the budget?
I mean, they're running okay. I mean, you guys wanted to kind of keep an eye on how we were doing on the food costs, and so we're still, you know, we're in February, we're at about 60%, so we're still okay.
Good.
So we'll just keep you posted on that from month to month.
Okay. That's good. All right, next thing is Citizen Advisory Committee. Mr. Jim Russell is here to address the council.
Well, good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to have just a couple minutes to talk to you. We felt at our meeting that it would be good for us to be more involved directly with the council and to be here to answer questions and to clear up any confusion that might come out of a written report. So that's one of the reasons, one of our top priorities coming into this year. The second thing on our list of priorities is a long-term plan for the pool. We know it needs some work, and it's going to require a lot of thought and effort into how to go forward with that. And then the third item was mandatory trash service. As that change comes across the city, we understand it's a fairly long process, but whatever we can do to help speed that along, we'd appreciate that. And then lastly, infrastructure. One of our questions that has come up with people we've talked to is the lot that the facility has bought off of the square, and if there are plans or what the plans are in terms of developing that property for use by the city. Other than that, I'm just here to answer any questions if I can tonight, and appreciate meeting you all.
Any questions for Mr. Russell? Becky, would you address the lots? I mean, I know there's something going on there, but there's some things that
Well, and Reggie will talk a little more about it later, but
Okay.
Sorry.
As far as the lots, what our first thoughts were, we were gonna try to do a parking garage on the property and then make it a little more marketable for somebody to purchase the property. When we got the cost estimates back on doing a parking garage, it was far and above what we expected. The grant will only pay up to $500,000, and we were getting cost estimates in the millions.
Wow.
The grant was far less, really.
Yeah, and so the grant was not gonna cover enough of it to make that a feasible option for the city. So we're back to marketing it as is, and Reggie's gonna talk a little more about that later, in his presentation on what we're doing to try to market that.
Okay,
get
that'd be good to
something
hear
in there.
that.
I
Thank
do
you.
want to
Good.
answer, though, I noticed on your changes to implement, you all ask about the legality of running for city council when not living within the city limits, and ask if there's amendments that could be made.
Correct.
So that is not a city ordinance that sets how that is done. It's a state statute. So in cities our size, it's a state statute that you have to be split up by wards, and the aldermen have to be elected from within the city. It's not a city ordinance.
not a
that we
city
can
ordinance.
change. If you have a population of 1,000 or less, they do them at large, but I think it's still within the city
still in the
limits.
city, right?
But a city our size, we can't, our ordinance, we would not be able to set an ordinance that's in violation of what the state statute
Of course,
would
of
be.
course. And people we know have businesses within the city,
Absolutely.
and so they have a vested interest in what the city does, but their residence is outside of the city.
And that's part of the reason why council set up the community advisory group.
Right.
is so that we could have some input, because we do know a lot of the businesses in town are owned by people that don't live in the city and don't get a lot of input, so we were really hoping that that would kind of help bridge that
Yeah,
gap.
I think
a little
about
bit.
half of our members are not residents of the city,
Correct.
but have business interests in the
Correct.
city. And the other
Yeah.
half, of course, are
As
residents.
it stands right now, we wouldn't be able to go in something in violation of what the state statute is. It's
Okay.
not something that's set by the city council, it's set by the
Okay.
state. So I don't know what that would look like. I don't know that we could even put it to the voters and change that. I'm not sure what that would look like.
It'd be
but-
something Larry Larry, you have any knowledge about that? I mean,
I think Becky cited it all correctly.
yeah, it's a state statute, and it'd take an active,
I don't even know that we
I think
could
our
put it
state
on the ballot if it's in
representative
violation of what the
Legislature
state
would have to fix
statute
it.
is.
Yeah.
The legislature would have to change it.
That
so.
sounds like a really particular
But I
interest in
did
the
want to
state.
address it, so you would
But-
know,
yeah,
because I saw
thank
the
you.
question on there. And I think you'll hear a little more tonight about the pool, because it's on the agenda,
Mhm.
which may help answer some of those questions. And then maybe we can talk a little more too about your transparency stuff. I went back to some of the March meeting minutes, and I think there's some items on there that maybe we could do some follow-through with, so.
I think it's good, great for the Citizens Advisory Committee to come here, like you said, to have, as that, we need to keep evolving that. And, because
Mhm.
it's still new, we're not.
Well, it is, and that was one of the things that came out of our meeting actually just last week, was to couple ourselves tighter into what you're doing, so
I
there's
think
more,
it's great.
more transparency, more communication on both ends, so we can go where we can be the most help, to the council. And certainly we do bring in the outside business owners and that kind of thing that comes in that are not eligible to vote at all in the city election. So-
Jim, go ahead. Jim, I had a question. Do you and your members take a look at the council meeting on YouTube after the meetings? Do you read those or look at those?
We go through the minutes. I don't know that anyone looks at what's on YouTube.
Oh.
I just don't have any information
I was
on
gonna say
that.
either-
I don't personally, I tend to just look at the minutes and see.
Website would be information.
Mhm.
Kind of, as far as you talk about that transparency, I mean, it's all on YouTube, it's all on the Facebook and the website. So if there's any,
Can I
any
ask a
question-
question of your group? I noticed in your March, in the March minutes, you were talking about wanting to see an article put in the paper for the people that aren't on social. Really, are you guys thinking of an article that would just be something from me, or would you rather just see the minutes from council meeting published in the newspaper?
I don't personally have any knowledge as to what was behind that, but we'll find out and get back with you and let you know.
Yeah, kind of give us an idea of what they'd like
Mhm.
to see. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Dan, would you see if there's any public comment? We have the lodge and living proof, okay. All right. Living proof is on the agenda. Okay. No, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
We're.
I'm ready.
You're on the.
I'm ready.
You're ready. You are, when we get to the agenda, you will have a time to speak because you're already on the agenda.
Okay.
All right. And then we'll talk about Masonic Lodge and old business. All right, first thing up is swimming pool with Jamie Davis.
Yes, you want me to go
So,
ahead?
yeah, I
and
was
say-
gonna say, go
Okay.
ahead with your portion of the report, and I.
You all know you approved the contract for us to go ahead with the company that was going to do the design build. Because you all felt like, and for those of you that weren't here, the council entered into a contract with a company that will do a design build and design the pool so that we have plans to share with the community as far as fundraising going forward. The couple of the things that he needs to know before we, as we start to know for sure where you want the pool and a possible budget. Now, I know when we had him look at just some basic plans, he kind of gave us a $2.3 million price range in there. But he wants to know if that's, kind of a budget of where you guys want to be as far as how how big a plan you want them to start with. He does have he said the first meeting will be a virtual meeting. It will be Friday. He's gonna do it over the computer where he's going to just introduce his team, kind of get organized on how they're gonna do everything. That's Friday at 3 o'clock at my office, if any of you want to be there for that.
This Friday?
Correct.
At 3.
Correct. You're welcome to be a part of that, and it's really just gonna be kind of a kickoff to meeting. So really, some of the main things, if we're gonna start the kickoff with them planning, is council decided not to do the grant, move forward with it being at Greens Park, but you did not really ever say for sure where you wanted the pool to be. That needs to be decided. And then, comfortable with what he estimated that those costs would be at 2.3 for just a basic pool and something that you can add on to later. That was kind of the guidelines we gave him to start out with.
I think until we see images of what he's actually talking about, then we're not gonna know if we're comfortable with that amount or not. I mean, when you just say a pool, that,
What we asked him to do was a 40 by 70 basic pool, something that could be added on to, was what.
the same size that we were talking about earlier, that.
So to have a
thought
pool
was
house,
there.
restrooms, changing area, with a 40 by 70 pool is what we first just talked to him about when we were talking about doing the grant.
And really, whether it's 2.7 million or 10 million, it's all fantasy numbers at this point, right? We don't have either one, so we can't really say a budget we're comfortable with till we know where we're gonna get that money. So we're kind of in that spinning.
Well, we know if it's 2.3 for just a basic, he said that would be, you're gonna go up from there depending on what you're gonna add on to
But I mean,
it.
if it's 2.3, we can't build that right now either.
No, none of it
So-
is.
So we can't say, yeah, we'd like to have more, but we can't even have the smallest.
But you're gonna have to kind of make some of those decisions, because when you decided to move ahead with the design build,
Yeah.
that's part of the process, is that you're planning how you want this pool to
Is
be, so
it-
that you can get the community involved and get them started in fundraising or start that process.
Is it possible, or would it be a good idea to do 2 plans? I mean, for our money we pay, can we do the basic and then do one that's
Oh, now, I don't know.
That's
I'm
like,
I don't know the answer to that.
That
That would
makes
be a
sense.
question that we could
On
ask
Friday.
them when we, the Friday.
because if we could say this is our goal, if we were to get, the taxes and the fundraising to do it, and if, shoot for the stars and land here if we didn't get that one, kind of thing.
I mean, that would be a
Because
good
I still
question.
fear that if we planned a phase, if we go that route, I'm afraid nothing more will happen after phase 1.
Yeah.
Because you can see
Like the
where
other
we
pool was.
have,
It's still gonna come down to the money, the
Yeah.
budget,
and we're going to have to
honestly.
borrow money on it, right? I mean, I think we're all going to have to accept the fact that we're going to have to borrow money on it and make some payments.
Or, because any of these large projects, that's what we've had to do. And let's face it, things aren't getting any less expensive.
No,
That's
it'll be more.
It's kind of what came first, the, the plans or the budget, right? Like it's.
Yeah, I mean, if you get bond financing or something involved, you all will have to make decisions on, we're gonna have to use bond financing to do expansions at the treatment plant. And that is something that's gonna have to happen.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what your bonding capacity would be if you have to do bonds at the treatment plant and you're thinking about bond financing for this.
But we don't know either, but we've had this same conversation more than once now, saying these exact same things. So how are we ever gonna know?
Does he not have like a good, better, best already made up from other communities that this is what these 3 touch points are?
I'm sure,
I mean,
he tries to tweak it to
We're starting
whatever
with
you're
one sheet of
wanting,
paper,
but
If he gives us 3 things, 3 pictures.
like I said, I don't know the answer to that until you meet with them on Friday, so.
I think he's gonna give a lot of point blank, I mean, if you ask him, he's gonna tell you, this is what's gonna cost. and
Well, I mean,
if it's
his
like,
idea is to really work with you all to build something that you're wanting. That's the design build phase, is for you guys to kind of pick what you wanna see.
Well, I think
The
that-
idea of the phases was just for fundraising efforts or financing or whatever you decide to do to fund this, you may not be able to fund it all at one time. I don't know what that's gonna look like. You may have to pick phases in order to get it all done, but you're not gonna know the answer to that until we kinda get through this.
Have you ever been involved in a bond issue before? So, what's all entailed? That's a loan that we're getting, that outside investors are buying a bond.
Yeah, you would
Is
actually
extra
bring a
money?
bonding company in here like McLeany and Associates or somebody that we've worked with in the past, D.A. Davidson, and they would walk you through the process of that.
But are we paying like a 5%, 4%, some kind of,
It'll depend, yeah.
You pay them an interest, plus you pay them to do the paperwork.
They get paid a fee to take care of it.
Every year that you do that, when we did the school thing, they get their money, they get a fee every year, plus you're paying it, yeah.
I mean, it's gonna depend on
so from
interest
the
rates.
school's
It's-
viewpoint, was it a good deal for the school district to do that?
No, it costs a lot of
You're
money
usually doing a 20-year bond or something.
to get a building.
It's just what we will end up, on anything that's gonna be huge ticket, that's pretty much the only way that we can do it.
Now, some places have the cash to do it, and that's great, but, you know, most cities or schools don't have the cash to do that. And, I mean, and that's the only way that a lot of it you can get it done.
And I think the first phase of the treatment plant expansion that you're gonna have to do is, I think he estimated was around 7 million.
How many phases involved in the treatment plant?
I'm sorry.
How many phases will be involved in the treatment?
I gave you all a copy of that, I believe. I'd have to look back at it. I think there's 4 total.
Over how many years?
I'd have to look
Like every
again.
3
I don't
years, we have another
remember.
phase?
I think it's
The first was, well, I think there was actually like a 4-year time frame between the first and second, and I'm not sure after that, Dale.
So I feel like we're a little off track here. We went from the pool to the treatment plant.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring us back to the pool so that we can finish that portion of just updating and kind of where we're at. When I look at the agreement with Landmark Aquatic, because that's who we went with, right?
Correct.
So providing up to 3 aquatic plan concepts in PDF format. So I guess kind of understanding a little bit more about what that means. I thought that in my head more like phases or what I thought of when I thought of like 3 different, but I can see how it'd be like 3 versions of spending
Yes.
the same budget.
Yes.
So I'm seeing that now a little differently, and I was also thinking site-wise, I kept seeing 2 sites, and it's 2 site visits.
Well, that's
And
what
so now
they,
I
kept
understand that a
hearing
little bit
people
more
say that,
clearly
2
now.
sites need to decide on.
So
a
yeah,
site.
so just, kind of getting a little bit more familiar with this agreement. Well, I still think it's something that needs to be done, because in order to do this project, we're going to need to really sell it to the community. And it's gotta have some of these components as far as an actual design investment amount.
Right.
And what, for that money, what it can look like. So, I mean,
And again, Becky, when is that? Friday, this Friday?
3 o'clock,
3 o'clock this Friday, and what date is that?
the 14th.
14th.
And Becky, can I ask you, are these the same dimensions as what you were having the other company give us a dollar amount
Yes.
for the grant? We found out that night, or some they've already known, that that size was not deep enough for a diving board, so is he gonna be coming back with
No,
rules for
that
us
size-
that don't even have a Dr. Kent?
No, the one that wasn't deep enough for a diving board was the local person.
Right.
That wasn't gonna
Right,
do
I-
it deep.
yeah, I
But
know that.
his is not, his is designed for municipal pools. It's
Okay, so
designed
it
for
is, it isn't the same then,
the.
as
No,
far
the
as
size,
wise.
40 by 70 is the
But-
same.
But his is deeper.
Correct.
All right, anything else on that before we move on to?
Clint, would you care to go back and look on my calendar and make sure that I'm telling them the right? Now I'm doubting myself. I think maybe it's Thursday instead of Friday. Thank you.
so that's the next step, is this meeting.
Correct.
And as far as these other pieces of information that they're asking for?
We will work those out as we go.
Okay.
But we do need, the site needs to be decided. And I know that's, it does. You guys are starting this process, and one of the first things he asked me was, they wanted to go ahead and do some study on the size, whether it was gonna be able to handle different phases, what all was, and they kinda need to know where that's going to be.
And we
To
haven't
start.
ever discussed it since the
No,
vote
Not
to
really.
stop the grant process at Greens Park, so.
Well, I guess pick up where we left off, didn't it sound like most people thought the fairgrounds, or was the whole pool side is on the table too? Is that-
Now see, I don't know
I don't
what
know
you're
either.
talking about. Most people are thinking about the fairgrounds. What's that?
That was.
I'm just saying to start the conversation, that was
Yeah,
my
but I mean-
memory.
Church Shoemaker?
yes,
When you say the
Thursday at 3.
fairgrounds, do
That's
you
what I got to
mean
thinking, Thursday.
on
This
down
Thursday
past
at
the-
3. Behind the senior
past
center.
So,
the land that
Yeah.
might be vacant, that Becky said might be for
no,
sale.
behind the senior center, I
Oh.
guess, more specifically, right, yeah.
The meeting is 2/13 at 3 o'clock, not the 14th. Thursday, make a
Thursday
note
at
of
3.
that.
Sorry,
Thursday,
it's Thursday.
3 o'clock at City Hall, if there's enough people
Not,
comes.
yeah, at City Hall, at my
At City Hall,
office.
if we
It'll be
need to.
virtual, yeah.
If it's virtual, may have to move it in here. Bobby, you be make yourself available. All right, so, we talked about a spot for the pool behind the senior center. The other spot is, well, up in here is where the old pool was. There's more room there. There's probably not as much room there. So what's the council wanna do?
Well, what were all the available spots? Because there were more than that we initially.
So what we initially
Discussed.
talked about was where the old pool is, the Greens Park, the area behind the senior center, and then the property over on Water Street that the city purchased at one time, thinking about possibly putting a pool there at some point. And I think on the map it shows 2.2 acres, Mark, does that ring a bell? I think it's 2.2 acres there.
Isn't it, that we've got options for?
It's about the same, honestly,
Now, which
as,
one are you talking about? That
so the
has
one on
2.2
Water Street, I
acres?
think is 2.2, if I remember right, looking at the map. The Greens Park and the property right behind the senior center are pretty comparable as far as size-wise. Greens Park wasn't ideal just because of the shape of the ball field there. The property down at the senior center is just open square property, so,
And
you have a
Greens
little.
Park wasn't open?
Well, it's just, it's
I
shaped
mean-
with the ball field, so you don't have the square, which will
Plus
probably
we have the
affect it a little
sprinkler, too.
bit, but the size is about the same.
And the one up by, and one's around residential and one is not. I mean, is Greens Park on the table, since we voted no, was it?
I'm
Is it
just,
still
they
there?
asked what all was the ones that we,
Okay.
those are the
We
four that we.
Well, if you
multiple
remember at
times
the,
on the
at the
same
meeting that we
thing, so.
had, when the ones that attended the meeting spoke up, there wasn't one person in that crowd that night that was for putting it in Greens Park.
Mr. Mayor,
That,
Yes, sir.
I move we Cedar Center.
well, I'd like to have some more discussion on that.
I'd like to say something here before we get started.
Okay.
We're talking about spending 2.3 million plus. If it's donated money, that's fine. If it's granted money, that's fine. But you're talking about $2.3 million when Becky says we got $7 million we're gonna have to spend at the treatment plant. Water lines and hydrants here in town are terrible. We've got hydrants that were put in the early 20s that are still in operation, and a lot of the lines won't supply enough water to manage a nice house fire. The streets are deplorable inside town. So if you're talking about spending $2.3 million, like I said, if it's donated money, that's fine. But if it's gonna, your infrastructure's falling apart, the reason we're talking about $2.3 million is because of the neglect that went on up there at the current city pool. So, I just feel like we need to get our priorities in line. It would be nice to have a pool, and I'm not saying that I don't want one. I'm saying there's a lot of stuff in town that needs to be taken care of before we start throwing money into a swimming pool. And that's my piece.
Before, I know this may be a little bit off, but the water line by O'Reilly's, Does anyone know how big that was? Was it a 6, 8, 10 inch line?
inch,
How big?
8 inch.
8-inch water line, okay. Was it old?
I don't know when to put it
I mean, it broke, but anyway, okay. All right, go ahead, Mark.
But I'm talking about like East Hubbard, there's just like a 4-inch line feeding part of it, and then it goes down to pretty much the surface line. You know, you've got north of Walmart there. The highway, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean.
I think it's 10 inch.
10-inch underneath the highway that goes to an 8-inch. And how many houses have been built out there? And it's just, I just think the infrastructure is suffering.
Yeah, whenever they said that about 17th Street, north of 17th Street, there's gonna have to be a well and a water tower out there sometime if it keeps growing.
Yeah, or you're gonna have to bore the highway and put a loop line in. That would be the easiest answer.
Yeah, okay.
But,
All right, anything
all
else?
right, that's my piece.
Okay. Carolyn?
I don't feel comfortable, spending that amount of money in a spot right next to the railroad tracks. Especially for pool when we've already, I believe it might have been Chad that brought to our attention that he was concerned that the noise of the trains could interfere with the lifeguard's ability to hear a child that might be in trouble. But that's not my only reasoning for it there. I still know that our town could use more soccer fields, ball fields. I just think keeping them together, I still don't feel that is the best spot for it. And
Put it
even
back where
looking-
it's at. It's been there since, what year?
Well, Mark, I didn't-
72, I think it was.
So,
What? Sorry.
put it back where it was. It's been
Mr.
there
Mayor?
since 72.
I move we stick it up on 4th Street or the existing pool site and have it laid out for there.
Up by,
The old shoe
Did we
factory.
discuss that?
Starting to feel rushed again.
How can, we've been
You
having
motion
this
the motion
around for
first,
6
and you make
months.
amendments and talk about it once you make the motion. You don't vote on the motion yet, you still have
Well,
discussion.
until that person
You
who
give the
seconded.
pros.
And there's a
Well, I'm not calling a
about
vote,
this.
I'm just saying, let's talk about one location, and or we can do a survey between, all and we pick 2 places we like and see what the count is. But we've got 4 places, and we keep striking one down, thinking, well, just
Do you make
either
the
say yeah or nay
motion?
about each one.
made a motion to put it back where it was original.
Yeah,
If we think
I'll
that's the
second
most,
that.
I'll
most real
second.
estate and the most,
See, and here we go with voting on it.
No, you-
Vote
you
no.
can stall the vote, and you can talk about the pros and cons of that area, but it's farther from the tracks. And it doesn't take away a soccer field, and that's the 2 needs we,
Well, my only thing is.
and it might be cheaper to develop.
Well, yeah, because I mean, there's a hole there, we can dig it out like a pond, I mean, that's, but,
And we've already committed to this agreement to the thing, so we're not,
Oh, yeah, we
Bill,
wanna go ahead with that,
we
for
have,
sure.
so we gotta play through on that part of it, see if it's feasible, which doesn't interfere with the sewer lines and the water lines across town yet. We may put the brakes on in 9 months, but at least we gotta see what our options are at this point.
I
But we got,
personally don't like the idea either on Water Street. I know past administration thought when we purchased it that it would be an ideal spot maybe for a pool someday, but it's right in the middle of residential on all sides of it.
So is Greens Park.
Not on all sides.
I thought Water Street was kinda cool, you can make a walking trail back to the senior center, and you got 4 different angles from different roads, and you could put some personality there.
and it is buffered, I mean, there is apartments and residential, and hopefully someday, somebody will buy that old shoe factory and develop it into something, you know.
Oh, wait, are we talking about 2 different, now we're talking about 2 different places at the same time? Water Street?
Yeah, go ahead, whatever, I mean, I'm just saying, that, you know, both places. We have a motion and a second, any other discussion?
You can throw out the pros and cons in each place and persuade each other.
Well, yeah, let's.
Or what's, we have to have a momentum going one way or another. Sentimentally, I didn't like Greens Park, and Cedar Center can get crowded over there. We don't have a master plan for the property, but You got highway, you got traffic, and you got trains.
And
It's visible though to people coming through town.
I think for an ideal location, other than the train, but they play ball there with the train, they have other things with the train. I mean, hopefully the lifeguards are watching the kids and not just listening.
It's not that much farther from there to the train tracks as Greens Park was from the train tracks.
Well, true, yeah, yeah. I
It's
mean,
one sandwich away.
Yeah, not that far. I'm not that far.
60 feet in code
We've
talk.
got the busy
But I'm
highway
kind
out there.
of, I'm kind of with Mark also, just throwing my 2 cents in. You spent 10,000 on this. If you got somebody gonna donate you 2.5 million, build pool 8, I'm in with you. I'm backing you. I'll cut the ribbon, the whole 9 yards. But I will not be for making a bond when we've got roads and infrastructure like we got. That should not be the top of our priority list.
It isn't
And I
the
don't
top-
think it
isn't the
is.
top. Obviously, we know infrastructure is the top.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we can't work towards getting a swimming pool for our community. And likely, we're not gonna have someone donate 2.5 million.
Then
So that's why
where are we
we
gonna
have,
get the money? That's my question.
well, if we just keep having
We have
the
to know
same
what we're getting the money
conversation
for exactly
year
to
after
be
year
able
after
to
year,
sell.
we're never going to get it.
I just wanna know where the money's coming from.
But we
I
don't
think
know
that's a
that
very
yet.
simple
Well,
question.
I think having the consultant and having a vision, and if in 9 months or 12 months, people are in favor or not in favor, you might be surprised, might have some money come through.
exactly.
It won't be one donor, but maybe, 250 donors,
And we're
$10,000
hoping
chunk or something.
for grant money, because we know that we likely, when we had chosen Greens Park, how much,
500,000.
but then wasn't it more than that at the last minute? I thought you said it was more, was it up to $1 million?
She said
That's
that
what
at the
you
meeting,
said
I
that
know.
night, yeah.
Oh, I
So
think
see,
she said that then.
grant money, we thought we had it right there, but then there was a motion, a second, and it was voted down to stop the grant money right then, and that has set us back 3 years already now.
How can it set you back 3 years when it's gonna be available
Because
this
the
year?
grant
How did that
opens up,
set you back 3 years?
it opens up once a year. It takes approximately, is it 1.5 years, Becky, to complete the
Right.
grant process? They explained it to us that night.
Yeah.
So.
And this is
So
why we
3
wanted to
years
consistently
already.
be focused
If
on
you have $1
this.
million, let's say you get $1 million, where you gonna get 1.5 million more? That's my question. That's, I think, and I'm not being hateful or whatever, I'm just asking a simple question.
We may have to borrow money on payments that we feel that we can afford to make.
I will not be for borrowing money on swimming pool when we've got this other stuff that needs to be done.
But we lose money on a lot of things every year, and we're okay with that because it's community. It's a community service. It's something that we feel like we can afford while we are still taking care of infrastructure needs. We know infrastructure comes first because without it, we're not a city. We know that.
Dale, you've got a good point about doing the study. And it may come back and that guy say, well, what you want, it may be, hey, we can do it for X amount or 2X amount. And that may be the deciding point of saying, oh, that's too much, or maybe we can do that, and maybe in the community.
I think it's all good points, but I think
Well, I
we
think
don't
right-
have to decide all of this
We
tonight.
don't, I mean, the money
But we
part of
can't
it
agree
is
on the
just,
location.
the location tonight is the thing.
That is the
All right.
thing. So you
All
can
right.
We
start the
agree on the
plan.
money to spend the consultant fee last meeting.
Right.
So I feel like I got a 9 to 10 month commitment with this guy and to mentor us into the program. And that's all we're gonna spend at this point. And then if people in the community come link up with us and we come up with a good plan, we can go forward. If we don't have a good plan, we'll.
I mean, all of the other
I
stuff
think
will
on
fall
Facebook
into
was-
place as you have the plan put
It's
together.
just agreeing on the location.
Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second.
Well, we can
I
do the pros and
personally-
cons of 2 different
personally
places.
feel like Greens
We
Park
pros and
myself.
cons it already, let's
Water
vote.
lines over there
All right.
would never be able to carry.
All right, have a motion and a second. Oh, Reggie, have you got anybody in Houston that's got 2 or 3 million laying around?
A lot of people.
Oh, I was gonna say, but they probably
I just
wasn't.
have to see if I can get him to bring it here.
Yeah, okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to put it where it was. Tell me again the
To
address.
remodel the whole
It's up on
area.
Forest, it's up on Forest.
Forest Street.
Can I ask Becky
Okay.
a question first, please? Have we had anyone step up and say that they'd donate, if they had property to donate for a pool maybe, or even just a little outside the city limits or anything?
We've
or
had
anything?
people talk about properties outside the city limits, but nobody that said that they would donate property, I don't think. Some of the people that have been involved in the economic development group have mentioned other properties that join our park system out there. But I haven't had anybody say they would donate property for it.
Do you put a pool outside the city limits? I mean, is that where you gotta run water and sewer?
You would annex property in
Annex
if you
it,
did
have to
that.
annex it in, okay. All right.
Because you wouldn't even be able to get grant money for it if you didn't have it in
If
the
you
city.
didn't annex it in the city, okay, all right. All right, we have a motion, second, put it up at the original place. Let's have a voice vote. Mark?
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, we have 6-2, all right. Next thing on the agenda is the use tax, Jamie?
So I just wanted to keep our mind as we talk about things like financing projects and bringing more money into the city and the need to have this passed in our community. I wanted to just continue to think about some ideas about what we can do to promote use tax.
Is it too late to put it on the April?
It is, which is why we're talking about it now, because this gives us plenty of lead time to basically do campaigning, if you will, for this in our community. And different ways to approach it. So I don't know the best way to organize something like that, if we assemble like community committees, if we use things like citizen advisory board, things that I'm looking at, having local businesses helping promote it, because it definitely benefits local business. It pushes more business to local than purchasing online and things like that, which builds up our community and positive things. But I understand it's got that terrible word, tax. And people don't like that, and then the way it has to be worded on our ballot is mandatory. So we have to do a lot of education and promoting it, and if it just comes from the people around this table, it's gonna be challenging, because we've done this multiple times.
Jimmy, you were here when Mark was out doing everything that you said that needed to be done. He
We
did,
did.
him and Tim was out doing everything, and it just.
I do think in other communities where it has been successful is that there may be somebody from the city council, but mostly it's been people in the community that
Right.
got involved. The Chamber of Commerce,
Right.
Right.
citizen advisory groups, but just individuals in the community from different organizations and groups that studied why it's important to your community, that you're
Right.
taking business away from your local businesses. It's not a new tax, it's just collecting the tax on online purchases that we're not currently collecting.
Right.
There's a lot of education that needs to go into that, and yet you need the community involved to be
When we had
successful.
it on the ballot before, we had at least one, if not two meetings down in the school, let us have it at the school. And we need somebody to get up there and totally explain this much more in depth than what it was explained the last time, because people had the wrong concept
Well,
of what it was.
But
I
it's
think
easy, I don't
sometimes-
understand what the hard part is.
I think
It's
some-
easy,
I
it's
think-
easy to understand.
I think it's confusing, I think it's confusing for people,
Well,
but
tax without a purpose never passes. You have to have a big purpose for
I do
tax.
think if you had somebody from another community that has passed the tax and let them come in and talk
Well,
about the
and-
effect it's had on their community, they would understand
I
a
said
little
it,
better.
And that's a lot of what I'm saying, like testimonials,
After,
business owners.
whenever we was trying to do the use tax here, I've said it before, I said again, every city that it passed in and county, their Chamber of Commerce got behind them.
They should be leading the charge.
Yeah.
That's who should be leading the charge.
So that's what I think we need to, I
I
guess,
can-
conceptualize,
yeah.
how to do that, how to
Well,
get our,
and
those individuals in our community
what I
behind this
reference
to
it
help
to
support it.
is whenever Ritex 911 was in operation, they were funded by a tax on landlines. Well, then the cell phones started getting more popular, the landline money went down, and we were collecting no tax on the cell phone money, so our income was dropping, and that's why there's two different 911s now. They can't afford to operate. And it's the same thing with the internet. The more people that start ordering off the internet and not buying locally, our funding's gonna go down, and they're not paying the taxes on that, and the next thing you know, you're gonna start losing, you know, your ability to provide the infrastructure or provide
Basic
well-funded
necessities.
Yeah.
And I think a
well-funded
lot of
police-
people, when they order online, they just see that they are paying a tax, and they're like, I do pay taxes. But they don't understand that what they're paying is the state's taxes and not, the local
City
taxes are
doesn't
not being
get, yeah.
collected, because they have not passed it.
But I've also heard some people say, yes, I know I'm not, and that's why I order online,
Yes.
because I don't wanna pay
Right.
any additional.
Which is
tax.
And one of
why
these
you don't
days when they-
support our
Don't
local
care about the
community,
community.
and
One of
the
these
money
days when
doesn't
they call
stay
for a
here.
fire truck and there's not one to
Yeah.
come because there's no money to fund the fire department or the police department, when Danny's got, you know, he's had to cut down to 7 or 8 policemen, you know, that's the key right there.
Or 4 or 5 or none, like some?
I
Yes.
just want to let you guys know, I sent you the AI videos for the Facebook campaign, they're in your email.
Oh, for the
For this use tax.
use
For
tax.
the use
on
tax, yeah.
that they go, okay, all right. All right, anything else on that? If not, we'll move on to water.
Well,
Don't
I
shoot
just
my
wanna,
phone.
in trying to engage with the Chamber of Commerce, what is the best way to go about doing that?
Bobby's on the board, but he had to step out.
I think that, we need to meet with the chamber board, and I'm happy to do that,
Okay,
see what their reaction is.
yeah.
But
Okay,
don't you
well,
guys
yeah.
think in
I
our
would love that
case,
as a first
our
step.
biggest, promoter is gonna be our pretty pool? What's gonna be, in our specific case, is gonna be our number one thing.
Yeah, I think that could be a way that we can,
So you're gonna
Fund
designate
our
all the
pool.
use tax money for the
No, it wouldn't be designated, but it would lead the charge at the top of the list.
yeah.
But
I
no,
don't think you
we
can
could
designate
it
it
all
for
too.
anything.
You actually can earmark it.
You can
So
earmark
you
it,
cannot
yeah.
put it on the ballot that it's for that, because the state
Yeah.
regulates that. But you could, in your budget, earmark that money for that.
Because
use.
truthfully, it's either that or it's big donations is the only way it's happening. And not that we have to say
But you
that.
run the risk of turning some people off if you earmark it for the swimming pool.
Yeah, but I don't know, and if we don't have to earmark it, we won't. I'm just saying it, or hopefully
It
that's a
could be
nice
a-
plan to put on a
It
poster.
could be a strategy to
Yeah.
help
Yes.
get
But then
that.
again, if you earmark it for the pool and something terribly happens, and you need to do this,
Right.
and they say, well, you need to do this road well or whatever, and they, oh, sorry, can't, we gotta, it's designated. So I mean, there's always a catch
That just would be
22.
a percentage if you had to, but.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do what?
Play on words, yeah.
Do what?
She was just asking if the earmarking and designating would be the same thing. I said pretty much,
Yes,
just a play
yeah,
on
same.
words.
All right, water meter financing, Becky?
I was expecting to get a couple more back this afternoon, and I did not get them in time, so I'd like to hold off on that.
Okay. Sewer extension on 20th Street?
That is all complete. I think I kinda, I don't know if I addressed that in my
You did.
report, but those are complete. We started, Sean's sitting back there, they've been working on it. We started on the line, so it runs from where, Earth Outdoors building is, back behind there, along that fence, and back behind, Schrock's and, Sharkers. And, it's really wet in certain areas. We tried to get our equipment in there, we can't. We're gonna have to wait for some of that to dry up, so we started on the higher levels. We've gotten some of that dug, started with the manholes up there. So we are in the process of getting that project done. Our guys are doing all the work on that.
30%, what do you think?
Probably.
Making progress, okay. Any questions or comments about that? I think it's a great deal, and you got all that, we got everything settled and everything's going good. All
Finally.
right. DNR compliance report.
That is really just for your information to let you know that we are, we were back in compliance after we had that incident.
And speaking of DNR, we didn't get a water treatment deal back today yet on the water.
We are supposed to get it back tomorrow afternoon, so
Okay.
I'm hoping that the advisory will be lifted once we get that report back tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, all right. Page 2, Bill 2025-02, Home Serve Program, first reading administration.
So, this is the plan that, Dale had mentioned at the last meeting that you all voted to move ahead with. It really needs to be done by ordinance, so we've got the first reading on here. If there's anything that we wanna tweak on it after we do this first reading, that would be the time to do it. The only thing that I had a little bit of, and we'll do it however council wants, is if you automatically put, there's a lot of negative feedback from the community on doing that.
Make it voluntary.
Let it be their choice and not just mandatory, put it on the bill and then let them opt out of it. I understand the reasoning behind why Dale wanted to do it that way, so that they have that coverage if they want it, but that would be my only comment on to do the first reading, and then you can discuss it after
Yeah, 'cause I
that.
have a couple of things I wondered later too.
Say that again, it has mandatory on it?
So the
We
way
should-
it's written is that it would automatically go on their bill. And
Right.
then they would have to opt out of it if they don't want it. So that means the first time when we put it on, it's gonna go on everybody's bill. And then they would have to sign something to opt out of it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to hear the first reading.
Have a motion to proceed with the first reading, have a second? Have a second, all in favor?
You have to do a roll
Aye.
call, it's in ordinance.
Roll call, sorry. Webb?
Yes.
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 Becky, would you-
An ordinance amending section 38-30, being the water sewer rebate service plan of the city of Mountain Grove, Missouri, by amending section 38-30 and adding the rebate service plan.
Motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion second? Webb, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 Thank you. All right, restrooms on the square, Becky?
Do you wanna go ahead and discuss anything on that? I think some of them kinda wanna.
On the
I have a
volunteer,
couple
I'm
of
afraid the numbers won't work out if you had a low pool of people. If you had a couple hundred that said yes, then the math don't work out to be able to.
Is that what you're
Right off,
saying, is you
yeah.
have to opt in?
No, the way you have it written
Right,
right.
but is what you're
yeah.
saying you think it should be changed to then?
I
I'm
think-
just saying there's going to be some, I'd just be
Yeah.
prepared for fallout is what I'm saying.
Especially the ladies sitting in there. They're gonna be,
Yeah.
It won't
Yeah.
just be them, you guys will hear about it too, there
Yes.
will be some
Because it
fallout.
doesn't say mandatory, which is good.
It's not mandatory,
It-
but it is automatic.
automatic on it.
Even if we let them know
And
that
the-
all they have to do is sign to have it
Thing will be
removed.
get the
So we
word
would
out
do,
early.
so we would do a mailing to everybody, but I'm telling you that the biggest majority of people that come in to pay their bills have never opened their bill. They
Exactly.
come to the window and Carmen knows, she worked there for many years. They don't, most of them, a lot of them, do not open their bills.
Wonder when they come, if this is a few months out or a couple months when they come, have the person tell each one of them, be sure to look at this, there's a, whatever we called it, a rebate service plan starting. Be
And then we
sure-
do have a lot of
something
people that are
like that.
paying online that we don't ever have contact with unless we do the mailing, which we
Yeah.
would do a mailing for this, for sure.
But it is, right, that's what I thought when you were saying that, if we just make it where you have to sign up, I think we might as well not do it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think that's right, because people are not gonna sign up for it. I mean,
Till it's too late.
yeah.
And then they wish they'd paid an extra fee.
Yeah.
and then-
Well, the first thing out is,
It's hard.
I didn't know about this. I never open my bill. It comes out automatic draft and that's it.
And would it be okay if then when that, say, first month goes, they're upset, they call, then give them back their $3 when they sign?
They would just
Okay.
need to come and opt out.
Right,
would
but
be
then
covered
take it
during
off the
that
next
first
bill,
month.
that'd be our easiest way to save, or is that too difficult?
No, I mean, we can do it.
Spend that
I'm-
on a soda.
I'm telling you, on a daily basis, people get signed up on something, and it's a voluntary thing that automatically gets put on there, and you have to call and opt out of it. It's just the way of the world
You're
nowadays.
saying Apple?
Huh?
Talking about Apple?
One for sure.
So the education that we would do for the community on this is what?
I mean, we'll put it on our Facebook page, we can do it on our text thing. We would send out a letter to every person.
At what cost? Doesn't it cost, it's 2,000 meters? What's that cost, $2,000? Because it at least takes $1 to send a letter in an envelope anymore,
Yeah.
plus the time, that's
About that.
$2,000 right there. That you're spending to, you know,
Part of it. I mean, it's part of it.
We can include it with
Can they go to the
the,
back of the meter?
we can include it with the bill.
put it on there on the back of the bill, and if they don't, I mean, you have to show them, but, I mean, I hate to spend $2,000.
If you get a bill,
Yeah,
which I don't,
a lot of people have signed up for not.
right? I want to save the paper. So that's what I'm, you know, kind
Is
of
there a
wondering, like,
place-
how we bridge those gaps to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to learn about this. Because I don't want people to feel duped, but people also need to be responsible. You know, we can't say, oh, well, I'm sorry I didn't know about it. Like, one of the first things I learned in law
Well, if
class
you
is
do
like,
a mailing-
ignorance of the law, it's no excuse. Like, you can't just say I didn't know and just expect to be,
We can do a mailing to every
Yeah.
person, whether
So-
they get a bill or not. Anybody that's got it, gets a utility bill.
well, is there a way to decrease that cost of those that don't get a bill? Like, include it as an insert with the ones that get a bill, I guess, or, you know, have
For
it go
sure.
on those bills, and then just the people who don't get a bill, do a mailing to just that select group, so that we can decrease the cost.
Well, it's
the
campaign
city.
season, so when you go door to door, you pass out this letter each month.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Well, can I ask a couple of things? So, do you guys think that when we were deciding on the amount, because and for like a residence, gallons, and then $10 for those over 5,000. But I was just thinking that my household of two, we use close to 5,000 sometimes. So, but what if I had some children? I mean, it'd be easy to be over 5,000, but yet it's still residential, not commercial, like a building that was paying for their apartments or multiple households. You know what I mean? Do you think that maybe we should have increased that higher than 5,000? Did that make sense?
Mhm.
Because I just think that's cutting it too close for most users.
What's the average
I'm afraid
amount?
they'll go over.
I know we tried to figure that out. and
I don't know.
What
Well,
is it?
when I paid my water bill the other day, I looked to
Maybe
see,
because-
and ours was, I mean, just the two of us was like 47, so.
Oh,
I'm gonna
That's
say
why I said
probably around 80.
if we had children, or I mean, you know, more water usage,
Yeah, I have to look at
I
mine.
just wonder if we should up that a little
Eight's a
bit.
lot.
Well, would it be designated as your house is residential and a business is a business, so, I mean, is there a distinction between the number of gallons, or is it residential and
Well,
commercial?
you could do residential and commercial, but that's not how you guys.
Because we
Right,
didn't
we
want to
decided to
businesses
do
to
gallons
have
because of the
bathrooms.
variance that can happen.
Because some commercial businesses might just have restrooms,
Yeah,
but
right.
other
We wanted to
commercial
not get
businesses
this,
will have
So we
something.
wanted it to be the complexes. What would 10,000 be? Still catch the
Catch
apartments
residential.
and the
Or 8?
rate? Yeah, of 8.
I mean, 8,000 is a lot.
Yeah, we wanna catch
Because
all
with
the
children, there's more
houses.
laundry, there's more showers, I mean, there's just obviously more water usage, and I just got to thinking that.
How much is the 10,000
Probably right.
residential bill? What's the average residential?
I mean, average bill is around $40.
I thought our minimum bill was 49 or 48.
Ours is about 50.
Yeah, I think it's about
47
50.
or 53 or something like that.
What'd you say an average bill is, Becky?
Around $40,
Yep,
$40 to $43.
about 43, 32,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And how many gallons is that?
Is the base 3,000 or 2,000 that it comes with?
I don't know, I'd have to
For-
look.
When I wrote my bill, I just know I always pay the minimum bill, because we don't use that much water.
It's 2,000 or 3,000, I think, is what's included with that, and then you pay after that.
I can tell you that just like Kim just said, the majority of our bills are minimum bills.
Oh, no, ours, it fluctuates in this, depends on how many flowers we want.
Well, anyway, we,
That makes sense.
I amend the motion, amend this to 7,500,
Okay?
second,
if that comes.
Dale made a motion to amend it from 5,000 to 7,500 for usage before it goes up to the higher amount. And a second by Brenda. All in favor? All opposed?
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, would you clarify this last sentence on item number 3 for me, Becky? I was probably just being big-headed today when I read it, but where it says the maximum rebate per year will be $2,500, there will be a deductible of an average monthly bill plus 1 month's average applied. So why don't we just say there would be a deductible of 2 average, or is that different, or? I'm getting hung
That
up
was
on
worded
that.
the way it was worded in, when you guys passed it. That's what was passed, was you guys worded it that way in your ordinance.
So does that mean 2 months
So
of
you'll pay your
average?
regular bill,
Why don't-
then
this
plus
is
Plus
why
an
I-
average, so when they do an average, they'll go back 6 months.
Yeah. I know
So it
about
could end
average.
up being more than what just an average monthly would be, because some people will use more other months. So your 6-month average is gonna be, when we go back, we would go back 6 months or a
But
year
it
depending
says
on.
there will be a deductible of an average monthly plus 1 month's average. That's the same
It's,
thing.
yeah, it's basically
I
saying
think-
the same thing.
I think what this is saying, the first
Thank you.
average monthly is the deductible, the second average month is your normal payment, I think is how it's.
Well, it just says.
I think
Is that
that's
what's
what
intended?
I think
That's what-
that's
yeah.
what's
If you
intended.
need to change that sentence to
Well,
'Cause,
'cause
yeah,
this
it will
looks like
confuse
they're gonna
everybody, no
pay
doubt,
2
but-
months.
2X or whatever.
Yeah, we can
Deductible.
reword that however you guys want to, if you wanna make a motion to change that.
Okay, well, how would we do that?
Cause you're saying your
You
payment.
can just
I mean,
do a
like, how
deductible
do
of
you
an
wanna-
average monthly bill.
Oh, okay.
Make
or
a
2
motion in
monthly.
English and we'll second it for you.
You do it.
You will pay a max, your
What,
payment will be
Becky?
2x your monthly bill. It's
What-
pretty simple.
What do you want the
What?
deductible to be?
1 month's average?
You're paying your,
The deductible's 1 month, plus you pay your regular bill anyway, is what the bottom line is.
Well, I mean, obviously, they would, because that's not what a deductible is.
Right.
So we just need to say what the deductible is.
And then just cut the
not
last
worry
two
about saying
words.
you still have to pay your.
the deductible
bill.
is 2X your average monthly bill.
Oh, 2 month, 2?
It's not 2 plus, it's just,
2 times it.
2 times would be what you pay.
the average bill is $47.
So
Okay.
in my house, if I have a leak between the meter and my house, and I'm on this
Well,
program,
that makes sense.
and I have a $2,500 bill, and my average water bill is $50 a month, I pay $100, and then this kicks in to pay the
Yes.
other, the
Oh,
2,500, whatever.
2,500.
Correct.
All right, yeah, so two
So, and can
times.
we add in there what we're averaging? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Like, can we have that
Based
level
on
of
6
clarity? I
months
think,
of usage?
yeah, I
Well,
think we need to put
Currently,
in.
we go back 6 months. That's how we
Okay.
figure
Yeah, we
it.
should.
I
put
would
that in
include
there.
that in there so it's clear what we're averaging,
Yeah.
Kim,
so
did
that
you get-
there's good
That's it, is that we
transparency
can
on what
approve?
we're doing.
I have a question, Becky.
Yes, go ahead.
Licensed plumber, is that city licensed plumber, or, because I don't think the state of Missouri has a license for a plumber.
It would have to be city licensed.
Okay.
Now, what was that? Oh, on 3?
City licensed person to fix it. All right, Kim, how are we gonna word that? Did you get that? Becky, did you get it?
But it
Kim?
says for invoice from plumbing supply.
2 times
Average monthly rate.
Bill.
Bill, okay.
Based on 6 months? Yes.
No, 2 times your 6-month average bill.
2 times your 6-month average bill. Okay.
Okay,
That's
Is
in
somebody
English.
putting that in the way of a motion?
Carolyn made a motion.
Second.
Did you make a motion, Carolyn? You wanna make it?
Yes, I move that we reword that.
Okay,
Okay.
Carolyn made the motion, Dale seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any other discussion on that? If not, we're gonna move to restrooms on the square. Reference.
Okay, so you guys saw, I think I have the plans attached that we were thinking about doing. First of all, how do you guys feel about this? I know this is rough, but what we were looking at is 30 by 30. It's gonna face the south. So it would be up against that wall behind the farmer's market building. It would face the south. In your women's restroom, you're going to have 6 stalls. In the men's, you're going to have
Two and four.
Yeah.
So is it gonna be access from the farmer's market, or you gotta go around by the pharmacy?
There will
From the
not be
road.
access through the farmer's market, and the reason why is because it's, well, for one thing, it's pretty high off the ground back there. And secondly, it would limit the space that the farmer's market people can set up in there. You would have to access it by walking around. We talked about our guys doing this and trying to get it done as quickly as possible. A little bit of concerns with that because really Chris Tinsley and then one of our other guys in the Parks Department is our main carpenters. Chris is only part-time, cause he works fire department, and, we're going into mowing season. You know, we're gonna be starting with all this. I'm a little concerned that we will not have this done by Mayfest for sure.
Is this made out of wood or blocks, or what's the construction?
So it would be, we would do a concrete pad and we would bid that out. And I would probably bid out the rough-in for the plumbing, because it's important for that to be done right. And then we would do, wood structure. And then I would like to do either block or brick on the outside, just aesthetically, longevity, low maintenance, something that's gonna look nice. On the exterior of it. I know this seems like a really large restroom, but the amount of events that we have been having on the square, and I see that, you know, getting to be more and more, I think it'll be a mistake if we cut down the size on it.
The first time, so we'll be
So-
something.
So
Build
with
it
the
sturdy,
cost,
yes.
so with the costs involved, just a rough idea of the cost estimates for between the trusses, Mountain Grove building, worked up some costs, you know, what we would need to build it. This is not gonna include the concrete work or the rough-in plumbing or the brick or block exterior. We're up about 29,000.
And I agree, Becky, it needs to be someone who knows to rough it in to make sure that the measurements are right.
Correct.
You sure don't wanna go in there and put your
It's gonna be
petitions
ADA.
in and have them too small. It's gotta be someone.
I mean, once we get it built, our guys can do the
Yes.
plumbing inside. we
Do
don't
the
need to
other.
Can
do
we
that,
do
but.
a bid as the bundle versus the piece bids too, or?
For sure, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of where we're at on this going forward. If we're moving ahead with building this bigger restroom up there, I wanted you guys to have an idea of what kind of costs we're looking at. And that there's a good chance I am not gonna have this done by Mayfest if we're using just our guys to do all the construction.
Why don't we,
I mean, for sure, I would wanna have it done by Heritage Fest.
why don't we look at bidding it out
It
then?
looks like
We
$75,000
can.
project.
We can,
Bid-
That's.
because I
mean,
really think, I'm really
The
concerned about
Parks
how.
Department has a lot on their plate. I mean, they absolutely.
Once mowing starts, it's gonna be really hard for them to
I think-
spend time on
Right,
this.
I think we can get it, come up with someone and bid it out and get it done. you know,
Okay,
I have a
concrete and everything.
design question / concern. What about ADA compliance
Yeah.
and handicap accessibility?
all of
Will
that.
it be
Yeah,
that?
we have
Okay.
to do all that.
Okay, I just wasn't sure dimension wise,
Well,
looking at the stalls,
Like
if
I
that's
said,
big
this is a
enough.
really rough, just
Yeah.
to give you guys an idea of what
Yeah.
we're thinking, you'll see some actual plans, but no, that'll all be ADA compliant.
Most of the stalls will be ADA anyway.
They
Doesn't
have to be.
With bars and everything.
And then you have, yeah, you have your stalls for
Ramps
that,
and
and the
everything.
doors and
Right.
Will you
everything.
have baby changing stations, because?
We can add those into the handicap
Okay.
Yeah.
stalls.
Yeah.
'cause I
Question,
don't-
Becky.
Oh, just in the handicap stalls?
So those,
Generally, that's
the
where
end
we
ones,
put
that
'em.
thing
We
that
can put
says
'em-
60, are
I
those the
don't know if we'll have,
handicap?
it depends on how long this wall is, if we'll have room.
How,
Because, I mean, you're gonna have even a couple,
I think,
maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm seeing that now.
How often are they gonna
Those
be
are
open?
important.
All the time.
And we need cameras out there, and not inside, but out front, so we can see if there's any vandalism.
I mean, now we're getting to where the farmer's market building gets used a lot through the winter time. We have Winterfest. We need to be able to use these restrooms year round. You know, that's one of the complaints with everybody that uses the farmer's market. And I know when they've had events, a lot of people have went over and used the restrooms at Jake's building, which really, you know, he didn't build those to be the public restroom
Well,
every
that's
time
true,
we have an
that's
event.
true. I was just
So-
thinking vandalism.
Oh, it'll be an issue, but we do have cameras in that alleyway there, so you will have cameras facing right to those restrooms, so hopefully that'll cut down on it. I mean, we can't ever completely control that.
But you're not gonna leave them open 24 at night?
No, we'll have the officers closing at 9.
Okay, that's what I was just.
And they'll
But
have
during the
some type-
daytime, they will
Yeah.
be open. Yeah.
Becky,
Yeah.
the other question is what kind of heat?
I think we can do those mini splits for them.
Something that's gonna,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have to be, okay.
So what do you need tonight? You just talking about them, or do you need us to do it?
If you want to bid it out, I would like a vote from you guys
Let's
to
just
bid
do
it
a vote
out.
to
Make a motion.
Yes, Webb?
One question, I think I'm right, but Jamie was,
The ones that say 60, those are the handicap stalls that are,
Correct.
okay, that's 6 across, and I wasn't recognizing that was a
I'd make a
handicap
motion
stall.
to get bids on it.
second,
Take a motion to get bids on it, motion by, and second,
Second.
all in favor? Mark, you can catch it. Okay. Masonic Lodge, Becky?
So that's back on the agenda because you all sent it back to planning and zoning as recommended. And planning and zoning determined that it should be reverted back to R2 as was originally to sit for 15 days and then come back to council for final approval. So it is their recommendation to go back to R2 as it was originally zoned. Their thoughts are, just like we said before, that if somebody has a plan to want to do something different with it, that they could go through planning and zoning as it's intended to, with that plan to be approved.
Make a motion that we,
That would be to approve the Planning and Zoning Commission.
yes, to approve, their request to change it back to R2.
Okay.
Did they give us any kind of direction, or just revert it back to the same thing it was? I mean,
Because that's
of
what
all the
was,
colors on the map, that's the only one that fits it the best, or?
no, it was based on just putting it back to what it was originally put in as. Because honestly, there's nothing that it fits into
Can
currently.
I move that we table this for a few months and see if they work up a buyer who bring us a proposal? So we can, versus voting and moving it, can we just,
Well, you're gonna have to take action on what they did because it's set for 15 days.
well, I moved to table it for, 180 days.
Well, I move to approve it.
But, yeah,
Carolyn
okay.
already-
What bothers me about that is you're saying you don't have any trust in your planning and zoning, right here with that. You don't
It
trust.
doesn't qualify for anything else, and that was the,
Well,
well, anyway.
It
What-
doesn't mean it's not gonna qualify for anything. It means somebody has to come to planning and zoning with a
Plan.
good plan of what they're gonna do with it. The last time that didn't happen.
so what you guys, the reason why you sent it back was on the advice of your attorney, that when you guys made this motion in council meeting to forego planning and zoning and approve this before, that procedurally it should have went back to planning and zoning. So you all voted to send it back the way it should have been to begin with, and we're just following that process, and this is just the furtherance of that
Yeah.
process.
To try to
I don't
correct
think it's
our
here, but I will.
error, our mistake, right?
What's that, Carolyn?
To try to correct our mistake.
Yes, that's really what it amounts
Well, I
to.
wasn't trying to not trust nobody, but they didn't give us back. They just.
But Dale, if someone comes tomorrow to buy it, and they wanna buy it, they need to come to planning and zoning with a plan. That doesn't mean the planning and zoning is not gonna approve it, but the way it is now, they have to come to planning and zoning with a plan, and as far as me being on the plan, and Mark and Jamie, I wanna see it in paper. I wanna see it, what they're gonna do, and how they're gonna do it, and what they're gonna do.
I think we've all got the same goal, that we want this bill to be higher and best shoes. I just didn't want us moving it back and forth in council meetings to have a banker somewhere kind of stand back and not
Well,
fund someone's deal.
I can tell you that the last time
Have
it
a
come
activity.
through, they didn't have a plan or something, and the council override the planning and zoning on that because it was recommended then to remain R2.
Yeah. For the safety of the town and
Yeah.
everything around it.
Didn't you make a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Have a motion to approve this by the planning and zoning. Do we have a second?
Second,
So the two main things in discussion, I think that we worry about is the liability that we've mentioned. I don't know if we understand if that's for sure or not for sure. And the other thing is so that
But
the city
wait a
can
minute,
maintain
Zach.
control.
Our attorney says that we could be liable. And that's what we pay him to do that
Right.
for.
So
Now,
then, is it for sure we are not liable if it's R2? Does that make sense? For anything?
no, because they haven't done anything yet. They haven't proceeded to do anything with the apartments and do anything else.
If it goes back to R2 and they decide they wanna build two apartments in there, which they can, they will bring a plan to Chief Gibbons. Chief Gibbons will go over that plan and say, yeah, that'll work, except for you gotta do this, 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 and this, and this.
Mhm.
We won't have anything to do with them because it's being
It's
built
within
as
that.
it's zoned.
Right, but, so just to understand, let's say it's R3 now, something gets built, four gets built in there. Then there's a tragedy, it's still being built as it's zoned as long as they follow the same steps. That's what I'm just having trouble
Yeah.
understanding, like how we're liable
Well,
one way and
what
not.
the
'Cause
problem was the last time, I think it was, and Larry, you correct me if I'm wrong, is the council went against the recommendation of the planning and zoning board.
Right, but so that
Without a
would open
good-
us up for liability,
Yeah.
going against?
Yeah, and you know what, I say here, you look at the R3, qualifications, and in our own laws, it says what it was, and yet the council voted to throw that out. And so I think that's where the problem ensued.
So is it
But they
possible?
just said it's not zoned for nothing. It doesn't comply with any zoning we have.
Mhm.
That's why they have to take it back to the planning and zoning when they wanna do something, to make sure that the planning and zoning can do it where it's through the attorney, through the city, to make sure that the city's not
Because
liable.
ultimately we want, and then the next thing is ultimately we want control. So is there a way to have control without, or is it possible, let me ask that, is it possible to just say it's not zoned as anything until they come with plans? Like, is that a,
That's pretty much what we're saying by
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
it back to R2.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you wanna do a restaurant on the bottom and a duplex above, next 2 floors above it,
Would
Unless
be
you
a
take
commercial.
planning and
Yeah.
zoning into
yeah,
it.
we
because
can.
commercial might be what it ends
But
up
what would be
being.
that category?
If you
Commercial.
did what now, say it
If it
again?
was a restaurant on the bottom and the 2 levels above was a
It would be
duplex.
commercial, kinda like what you have some downtown that have
Yeah,
apartments above commercial.
I know we can't zone it as a council that way, but I think that, I like to have that opening for them, not have it blocked out.
But I
with
think
R2.
there's all kinds of openings if they can bring a plan to planning and zoning and just follow the process.
So the question is, if it stays R3, can they not still bring a plan? You know, they still have to bring a plan before they can build something, is that correct? Whether
Now,
it's to
if you
claim-
have it R3, somebody wants to put in 20 apartments in there, they can do it.
But we still
They
have,
still are gonna have to go through the fire chief with plans as far, he's
which
the
gives
building
the
inspector.
city control, right?
He's the building
But I
inspector.
think the problem still is, if they put 20 apartments in there, say, you put 20 apartments in there, and they get it done, and something happens, they're gonna come back and say, why did you?
Right.
Why did you
But what I'm
change?
thinking is they can't put 20 unless the city approves it, is that
No.
right?
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking, if we still have control that way, do we have to go pull control the other way or not? And I'm sorry, because I feel like this is so complicated, I don't think any of us fully understand it, because
no, I understand
talk
it.
it full.
I mean, they came with a verbal thing that said, we'll bring you back a plan to the planning and zoning, and we said, okay. And the next thing you know, they're up here in front of the council saying, we want it
Oh, right.
R3,
Well, I
and it
understand
went to
that.
R3.
Okay.
Because I came to the zoning meeting, I know some people voted intending for it to be R2, but I think the way it went through, Danny just said, well, we're just sending it to them because they sent it to us, you know, for them
Well,
to decide.
We have to, it has to come to the council.
Right.
And that was their
So that's
recommendation.
But I think
that
what
they
Danny
voted
said
on.
was not, we're recommending R2, he just said, we're just sending it back to them because they sent it to us, basically. And I know that was your intention and Jamie's,
Well,
yes.
no, I mean, it says right there that that
We
the planning
voted
and
for it
zoning
to be
voted to go
back
back
to R2.
to because the attorney recommended and because of the legalities of it. But we have a motion, do we have a second?
Yeah, somebody did.
Have a second.
Yeah, did.
Yep,
All right, Mark, how do you vote?
yes.
I'm still, no.
Yes.
In a situation like this, am I allowed to abstain if I don't understand it? No.
You can abstain,
You can abstain.
you can abstain anytime you want to.
Well, that's what I want, because I,
But you can't, yeah, you can stay, it's not a, but you don't have any personal conflict with it.
right. I mean, I just think it, I mean, I guess I'm on the line being tabled, because there's so many unknowns, so I'll abstain if I can.
If you abstain, it's just like you voted no on the book.
Okay.
Carolyn, how do you
Then
vote?
I'll vote no, just meaning I can put it down the road. Sorry,
I
guys.
vote yes.
Brenda?
I think the reason I'm having difficulty saying yes to it is because does this inhibit the ability for that to be developed where we can have some tax from that? Because we need our tax base to grow.
I mean, any development that happens, it's still gonna go through the same process, through the planning and zoning, through the building inspector.
I think this just is a recommendation by planning and zoning to protect the city with the attorney's advice
That's what our attorney.
to go, you know, to go forward. So it can have, because, so the planning and zoning and the city council can have some say into what happens and monitor the progress. You know, so, what's your vote, Brenda?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
I have 5-3.
Mhm.
Okay, so it goes back to R2. And I think there'll be someone down the road that will come and look at it and want to do something with it. Retail awareness. Brooke, oh, sorry, forgot. Is Mike Anthony here?
He was gonna be here, but something come up and he couldn't make it.
Okay, so he was the one on the patron comment.
Yeah.
So, retail awareness, Brooke Williams, Ken, and Paul. Now,
Good evening. I won't take as long as that pool did, promise.
are you Brooke?
I am.
Brooke, Brooks, you have two people with you, Heather and
Barry, yes I do.
Barry.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I'm not Heather.
No, they're back.
Heather's back, okay.
And Ken Palm's gonna speak right after us.
Okay, because they're on the,
Yep, he's right
paper
here.
comments.
Yep.
Okay.
I didn't sign in, I should have.
No, you're on the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay,
So the
awesome.
people that speak for you, I mean,
We're living proof.
gonna-
We're all here.
All right, go ahead, Brooke.
Oh, so we won't take long. Good evening, my name is Brooks Williams, I'm a local. So I came here to this county under different circumstances. Come here broken, lost. I fell in love with this county. I got my children out of state custody. I started a business. I employed 10 men last year from this local area. I graduated a discipleship program. And so I'm not stopping with change around here. I do all the hard stuff. I talk about all the hard things. And so there's two things concerning our county right now that I don't know if you guys are aware of it. Do you guys remember when you used to go BB gun hunting and you have a CO2 cartridge and you put a CO2 in there? Well, now it comes in canisters like this, 600 milligrams at a time. Not FDA approved. The only thing this is for is the food industry. It's sold as recreational inside of our smoke shops and inside of our gas stations here locally. And not only that, there's another product called Kratom. Kratom is a substance, it's a leaf-like substance that comes from overseas. It's an opiate-like effect. It is streamlining our youth right now. I brought two people with you to talk to you about it for one that affected locally just very recently. And so I'm with an organization called Living Proof. It built off because I want to help the people. I want to help right some of the wrongs that was done in this community. And so my goal is to go to the hard-to-reach places. But my family was safe. I have the keys in my truck right now outside. But I can tell you, big cities coming here in little bitty forums like this. And if we don't regulate this and we don't kick this out of our town, here's the deal. It's giving an approval for our youth right here. I know we don't have a big issue down here right now, but let's keep it not a big issue. Chief Bledsoe back there, he can tell you too. Streamline it. Now, what in my rhyme should you sell this at a smoke shop anywhere inside of America unless you wanted to get higher than a kite?
Well,
This-
that's what that's for.
This right here is the noxious oxide.
Glad you asked, because I'm like, I don't even know
This
what
is
that
this is called laughing gas. Go ahead, Brett.
laughing gas, but it's
I know, there's me a little
this is for
player
making whipped
Jamie
cream.
over here. I have no idea what that
and they're
is.
selling it in your vape stores.
It's what, would you repeat that? I just didn't hear you.
This is used for making whipped cream.
Oh, I saw that on the news.
To freeze food.
So one of these bottles makes 33,000 cakes, and they sell these for about $25. I don't know what this one goes for. Neptune, and then the kratom. All this stuff you can buy at a vape store if you have an ID. Now, we lost our daughter 3 weeks ago to this.
We're so sorry.
Sorry.
So the kratom, is that marijuana?
No, kratom is a leaf-like substance they drink as a tea. Ken Palm will probably talk about just a little bit on that. Most of the things, so it's an opiate like high. It's a painkiller, really is what it is. It's not FDA approved. It's in every gas station in this town right now. And so what it is, if we have anybody relapse from the discipleship or the women's house or the men's house, the first thing they use is that kratom right there. It gives you an opiate-like effect. And I'll tell you why we're concerned about it, because if you get a 16-panel drug test right now, it has that listed on there. Why are we not regulating this out of our county? I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys weren't even aware of this stuff. It's what Ken pumped. I'm pretty sure you guys weren't even aware. So that's what we're doing, is we're making it aware, because it's something that we need to talk about.
So the thing about these right here, and I don't have the pictures, but their daughter passed away 3 weeks ago. Out of her car. There was probably about 50 of them in her car. And so what happens is we was all part of the problem at one time. And so he said, we go after these things, right? Not only in this county, but in all counties. Here's the deal. They're using that to get high. They're using kratom. Kratom, if you Google gas station heroin, it's kratom. It pulls it up. It's the same effects as if they was out here doing heroin in your community. These things until we lose a kid. Wife or our brother or our sister. So we don't think about it. And then all of a sudden we say, what could we have done? The thing that we can do is we can start to address the fact that there's no reason why they're selling something that they use to put whipped cream on top of it, because they hook these to a canister and they write on cakes, right?
You pass it bottle around and show you how
this
to
last
do it.
week they had on MC News a girl who had been paralyzed for a year from this, and she still wanted to do it while she was inside it. The addiction was so strong that while she was paralyzed, she still wanted to use whipping.
And I'll tell you, our daughter she graduated high school with a 4.0, full ride scholarship to dance. She's 22, she had her own apartment, and we know you don't really contact her parents, so we thought it was just us, but she was isolating and she wasn't even going around any of her friends. And I tell you, we did not have any idea until she passed away in my front room. We knew she was doing tianeptine. It's also if you look that up, it got outlawed in September. So she was doing the whippets because the tianeptine, it's about the size of a 5-hour energy drink. She was having withdrawals from that, and she told her boyfriend that this is the only thing that got rid of that withdrawal pain. She's only had been doing them since September. Those bottles I showed you a picture of was in a Ford Focus. Now there's mandates and laws. There's people that's died from this in other states. Chicago, Minnesota, Florida. You have to have a food license to get it.
Yes.
But when's the last time you said, I'm making Thanksgiving dinner, I need to make whipped cream for some pies, I gotta go by the vape store? Said no one ever. But what we want to bring awareness.
Yes.
Because we had no idea we lost our daughter.
She never used street drugs. She bought it from a gas station. In 2019 in St. Charles, Missouri, 3 people lost their life. 3,000 overdoses, but kratom alone. Whippets are coming right behind it. And so these two things to run hand in hand together, and they're sold in our county.
These
and I would
chips are flavored, and the gas is flavored. And it was on NBC National News last week and CBS News the week before that. And these vape stores are getting this off, and I just want to tell you, you're talking to your children, it's a TikTok trend, and I think that's how they're finding out about this stuff.
Yeah.
But if you look up the what's that say, Whip It Dream, or well, turn around, Great Whip. If you look that up on Amazon, it'll show a picture of 4 bottles for $100. That's about a $25 bottle. I don't know how much this costs, but You look it up and it shows a picture of everybody with the campfire, and they've got a tank of this gas there while they're at the campfire. And then on another picture on the Amazon website, it shows like this would be a rocket with flames here, and it shows Saturn. And in the picture, if you read that, that tells me I'm going to get high out of this world if I use this. You know, so it's basically what we want to do awareness. We're going to do the same thing in Springfield, Missouri.
So Danny, Larry, is there, so they're not, it's not illegal currently, and I mentioned to Larry a little bit before this meeting, can council take any action to make it illegal in our town?
I
mean,
don't
is there
think so.
anything that we can do?
I'd have to check some legislation, I'm not sure.
I don't think we can.
Here's what the problem is.
It's not a new problem. Right, we've been dealing with. We just had a suicide here a few months ago where a guy, he was messed up on that and ended his life.
We probably need,
He ended his own life. So I mean, we've been dealing with the issues, but we started dealing with the issues back before they legalized marijuana, and they started selling Delta 8 and all these other things that started because they didn't have enough THC count in them, which I know we're talking about a completely different thing here.
Sure, no, it's all in the vape store.
But
It's all
it's
legal in these
all-
vape
I mean,
stores.
that's the move where they're making all this money is off this.
But I mean, aside from the education, which is great, I think it's wonderful that you guys are doing this, but, what can we do as,
I think it takes legislation in our Jefferson City to fix the problem.
We're headed there.
I mean, I think
We
that's
are
where we
headed
have to
there.
go.
Well, it doesn't mean we cannot, but so still. So we got to ask the question here. A lot of these vape stores that are not American owned, and I don't want to make that decision, but that's usually what sells the Kratom and the Whippets, is non-American owned stuff, because honestly, and so there is regulations that the county can sit. They have done it everywhere before. And so one thing that we got to regulate in our county, legally.
You mentioned St. Charles.
St. Charles, 2019, 3 deaths.
Right, have they done anything with this?
I think so. They're starting to regulate it now too. I've been, there's a lot of research. A lot of states have already regulated this or banned it for everything's banned for recreational use. But that's why I brought up that what is a smoke shop for? Recreational purposes. And why is it sold in a smoke shop?
That's what's so flabbergasting to me. It says on there like for food use only,
Then why?
and it's obvious.
That's where the fight is.
Why,
It says do
why
not
would
inhale
you
on it.
market it that way and
So
flavor it and all of that?
Cancer, here's $5 for a pack of Marlboro.
Yep.
That's how they're getting it off.
But
It says do not inhale on it.
We've been dealing with pain, we've been dealing.
Continue to deal with it, and we're going to continue to come up. We're going to continue regulating because we're going to continue to protect our kids at the end of the day. Because here's the deal: the people that are making this stuff don't care about, because what it does is it freezes your lungs. It takes away the B12 out of your life. This alone. Now this is dangerous, and so Kratom's even more dangerous. Both of them together combined are absolutely dangerous. So we're in a fight right now. We have an outreach called Friends and Family Fight. Telling people not to use fentanyl. We'll pass out Narcan, because there's an epidemic. And so we found out that Kratom and fentanyl run hand in hand together. And here's the deal: is our county and our country is under a distress. We are at war. 150,000 Americans lost their life last year. They're going to probably double it this year, and that's sad. And so what we're trying to do is protect our youth. We're going to do all the hard stuff. If you guys want us to go somewhere else, we'll tell them too. We're not scared of it, right? Because that's what we're going to do. I would love for every kid to be in that swimming pool, but first we got to make sure they get there. First, we got to make sure they get there.
Do you talk at the schools at all?
Well, I do. So I'm actually, that's another thing we've been working on right now is to get inside the local junior highs and high schools and educate some of the children on there. I've been on different for mental health and stuff with John McClure out of Mountain Road Ministry. I was going there with him. He got sick, but yes, we will be going into schools. We go into the prison systems.
Do you go into the churches and the youth groups around
So
here?
we got a
There's
ministry
quite
called
few of
Living
those.
Proof Ministries. And so we do outreaches all around this area,
Yeah.
everywhere. And we bring awareness to fentanyl, to this, to a lot of different things. And we are living proof because I'm a 33-time convicted felon. I spent 30 years. The destruction is, see people smoke weed with their kids and then their kids go out and then they start doing all that other stuff. See, we don't realize it till it's too late. See, the thing about their daughter was she was an actor. She had so much. And then all of a sudden, he goes home from a church service on Saturday night, and she stops breathing in his living room. But see, this stuff here freezes your lungs because they start doing it in a balloon. is what they do. They release it into a balloon.
I don't even
Because
think they
when
do
they-
that anymore.
Well,
That was our
that's-
time,
Yeah,
back in our day.
so what it does is.
Mine was like whipped cream canisters.
Yes,
It's
yes,
like-
basically, that's what it
It's all
is.
connecting now, but it
Way
was
smaller,
something.
same stuff.
which
Yeah, the kid,
I'd never-
and you probably get a fraction of this, for what
Well,
cream
and that's
can.
what I'm thinking.
A fraction.
It's,
And here's the
like
thing.
the size of that canister is
My daughter's
mind-blowing.
boyfriend
Yep.
said she was going through 7 to 10 of these a day, and they're $25 a piece.
7 to 10, that's.
Oh,
If you
I'd
see-
imagine this would last a month or two.
Yep.
But that's how bad
Okay,
and addictive this
uh,
stuff was,
I looked
is.
up St. Charles County, they haven't outlawed it, but they've made it a lot harder on retail
Yeah, that's what I'm,
people.
what
get it.
can we do?
Yep.
Is there
It says here that, they have to comply with chapter 237, haven't read that, but it requires sellers of Kratom products to register online, registration fee is $600. As conditions
Nice.
of registration, seller agrees to comply with chapter 237, including labeling. While not banned, Kratom is not county approved and is no way deemed safe for use past the seller. They also must submit all Kratom product labels for review, inform consumers that the proper labeling and written statement, refrain from selling adulterated or concentrated Kratom, refrain from selling Kratom products to those under 18.
So Larry, is that something we could look into about us being able to restrict,
We could
how they
look
sell
into it.
California, you have to have a food license to be able to get this stuff
So we
here.
can make a license that.
And the other
I
stuff,
don't know, that's what
I'm
I
not.
think legally we need to find out.
What I'll do is I'll reach out to the, I mean, we're a member of the Police Chiefs Association.
Okay,
I'll reach out to them tomorrow to see if there's
Yes,
any other
awesome.
municipalities
yeah,
that are doing anything with it. There are laws, I mean, just like if we catch somebody, using inhalants, dusters, we can write them, and get them into county court for that. But as far as just, we pull up, and nothing that I can do unless I can find out
Yep.
that they're doing it.
Yep.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
The laws hasn't caught up with this. We have a retired DEA agent, and he said it's legal. It's all legal, but it's still killing our kids.
Unless you
But
get
for
hot
the
and hell.
misuse, it's legitimate.
I've never even heard of tianeptine, and that was those little brown bottles in that picture. And I've never even heard of this stuff. And I went into a vape store since my daughter passed away, and I was just taken back. I mean, they sell scales, baggies, bongs, all the stuff that you and I, if we sold them, we'd go to prison for. But these vape stores seem to be a collage of felon paraphernalia,
Well, they
And-
call it novelty.
yeah.
Oh, it's
Yes,
novelty now.
yes,
See,
that's,
that was a charge when I was growing up, so.
Novelty, yep.
I just, it's just, unfortunately, we lost our daughter before we realized it, so we're gonna fight this, and
Yep.
we started here. Springfield's next, and then we have some people in Jeff City that we're gonna go see, so.
What about like letters of recommendation, like from the police departments and maybe the cities on what a danger it is to the community?
Absolutely. So the first thing I seen that St. Charles did was regulate it because they want photos of all the products that are being sold because they're not regulated right. So you can get a powder of kratom and it'd be different from the pill or the gummy. And so that's where the big deal comes out, and that's probably why they wanted photos to see the manufacturers that come by them, because that's where the guys, I believe, in St. Charles overdosed from, because it was a different product, same product, kratom, a different label, and it was a lot more milligrams, and the guys overdosed and died. They lost their life on it. So, Ken, you got something to add to this?
Brooks, one question. Have you been to these places and tell them how bad it is?
Absolutely.
What do they say?
Absolutely. I said, hey, are you selling the big bottles? You got the big bottles? He says, yes, I'm coming after it. I said, I want you to know that my buddy just lost his daughter to it the other day. I said, this stuff doesn't do anything good. But here's the deal. If some of them guys are making $5 on this and they sell 100 of them, I mean, they're not going to listen to me. They don't care at the end of the day. They really don't. I care at the end of the day.
The store that my daughter was getting hers was VIP Vape in Springfield. There and said, stop selling this tianeptine to my fiance. The guy came out with a gun, told them both not to ever come back. She come back a week later without him, and dude sold her everything she wanted. He didn't care. As long as you got money in an ID, man, we'll sell you this garbage.
So, again, I want to just thank you guys for letting us be here. It's a big deal to us.
Absolutely.
And I know it is to you guys too.
I want to start off with just a question. Have you guys, anyone here been inside the smoke shop that's here in this town?
Which one?
The one right up here?
Red?
Reds, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you guys go in there, I want to encourage you to actually go in and just kind of just take a 5 or 10 minute tour in there and just see what all's on there. And there's going to be a lot of things you're going to be looking at and you're going to be wondering, what is this? And you're going to move on over, and there's literally display after display after display that you will literally stand there and ask yourself, what is this? What is this? What is this? There's so many items in there that's for sale that I'm a recovered addict of 25 years. I've got 7 years sober. I'm also a board member for the Mountain Movement Ministry, and I'm also the founder and director of the Big Boy Men's Ministry. So I apologize. I meant to bring a research paper from the Mayo Clinic. I encourage you guys to go on there to their website and pull that up, and it's going to give you a lot of the information that I'm fixed to share with you. So it is, kratom itself is actually illegal in Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, places like that. It is completely illegal to possess, to purchase, for it to even be in the States. And I know that we're going to have to go through legislation to get this. But here's a problem with the kratom is what they're doing is when they produce this, along with the other chemicals they're putting in it, so you might take a teaspoon today and you'll be fine. Your pain may go away. The following morning you may get up and take another teaspoon, same amount, and it'll be the last teaspoon you'll ever take because it will literally kill you that quick. Kind of like heroin. Just like heroin. And I do want to reiterate a name. It is called gas station heroin.
It is.
And this is literally something you can pull up and find. And just simply the name of this is scary in itself to understand what the fentanyl is. And now they're literally comparing this through the name of it. So a couple other items that's in these stores, it's these little pills. They're synthetics. One name brand is called Sleepwalker. Just in the name itself, that should be demonic to us, right? Yeah. And, you know, there's so many other things in these stores. So I really want to encourage you guys to know what's in this town, to go to the vape store and walk through there. You don't got to ask questions. You can just literally go in there. One of the local stores in a different town, they are now selling synthetic shrooms. And they got it packaged all neat, and it's coming this way. This here is just north of Branson where this is at. And all this stuff is literally starting to flood into our little communities. And there's literally going to be some of our teenage kids dying. We're going to be burying some of them real soon because it is on its way. For sure, they know about it before we do. And the last thing, the tail end of my addiction, people was starting to use kratom as a cut. It's a multiplier. They was literally taking canisters of this stuff and literally adding into a smaller amount of meth and literally just multiply. They would go from 4 or 5 grams, so all of a sudden they would have an ounce of meth, and all of it was nothing about it that's regulated in any way, and it's just sad. And we're all recovered addicts here. We're just here trying to stop something that's going to harm our children and our community in a very bad way. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.
Brooks? Danny, you have his contact information?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Brooks and I talk quite a bit.
Yep.
Brooks. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go to Jamie Davis we amended the agenda tonight. She wants to talk about having 2 meetings a month. So we let those guys go ahead and then we'll take care of this new business. Jamie, go ahead.
Yeah, boy, following that, feels like this is like nothing that I'm talking about that has any importance really, but it does. It was brought to my attention that we had previously done 2 meetings every month instead of just 1, and I feel like it should be brought up to consider going back to that with the length of our meetings, the stall that we have on a lot of things moving forward as far as first and second readings, things having to sit for a period of time after they go through things like planning and zoning, and it just seems to not have our city running efficiently as I think it could, or our council and our decisions. I mean, I think a month is a long time sometimes to forget things that we talked about and discussed and kind of where we were at. So I think it would be beneficial for us to go to 2 meetings a month from the 1 meeting a month.
Becky, how beneficial would that be to go to 2 meetings a month? Would you get more accomplished, or about the same accomplished? Or,
I mean, it's been, I remember when I was on the council, we had 2 meetings a month. And of course, it was the previous administrator.
At the time that we had 2 meetings a month, they canceled some of them.
Yeah, because it was.
there wasn't nothing on the agenda.
12 years ago, I think it's when we changed from 2 meetings to 1 meeting.
And the reason why was at the time, it seemed like there wasn't enough business to do 2. We'll do whatever council feels. Obviously, I feel like if we have something important, we call an extra meeting.
Right.
There you go.
I mean, we've done that. I mean, as far as Becky and I talk, if she thinks we need to have an extra meeting,
Are there
we'll
months
call it.
that, that there's stuff that maybe we could handle a little faster, that we don't call a special meeting for? Yeah. I mean, there's gonna be cases of that it would have been nice to get it taken care of sooner. Kim's gonna spend extra time doing, posting agendas, doing minutes, doing all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's part of her job, so I don't really count that as my fear is that a lot of times I think our late meetings is because we don't keep the meetings moving very well, and so we get caught up in a lot of
You took
extra
the word right out of my
discussion,
mouth.
and I'm trying to be.
I was gonna use the term, spend a lot of
Discussion's
time
good,
kicking
though.
a dead horse.
Yeah, chasing the rabbits that we used to
And
call
so
it.
I don't know if having 2 meetings is gonna accomplish, because you said the length of the meetings, I don't think it's gonna help with the length of the meetings, I think we'll still have long meetings. Because I just think that's kinda how we are with the meetings, so I don't know if it'll accomplish that. So that would be my only thing, is that you're gonna end up here 2 late
Well,
nights a
my mama
month.
had an
But
expression of liking to hear your own voice, and sometimes we may all be guilty of that.
I'm sure. So I don't know, Jamie, Kim and I will do whatever council desires on this, and there's positives and negatives both ways, so.
Sure.
It's whatever you guys feel you need.
When we hired Larry, we said he's working for Ava, and they
Yeah,
had
I'm
2,
not
we
sure,
said we
can
could-
you be here twice a month, Larry?
I think so,
Okay. Is it certain days that you gotta stay away from?
yes.
So that's why we moved to
That's why we
Mondays.
did Mondays.
Yeah.
So Mondays still work?
Mondays are okay.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
Tuesdays
Ava-
Tuesdays
Ava
are
has
bad.
2. Ava's still doing 2 a month.
Larry, how
Yeah.
efficient is Ava's meetings,
What was that?
How efficient is Ava with 2 meetings a month?
We have 2 a month, and they run all the way from 30 minutes to an hour is a long one. Sometimes we cancel the second meeting. We have special meetings as needed, which happens occasionally,
I think that's,
So an hour is a long meeting at Ava?
yes.
We, our own businesses
They
now.
don't like the
That's what I'm
sound of my
saying.
voice.
So
Well-
here's the thing I want you to ask yourself, because there are many times I sit back and I hear, okay, we need to focus on getting out of here early. Or there's huffing and puffing and there's irritation about even just meeting once a month. And I'll tell you, in my life, meeting twice a month is an inconvenience for me. But I'm not on this council because it's convenient for me. I'm here to serve the city of Mountain Grove and our constituents. And so when I look at the things that we can accomplish, and maybe shorter meetings, getting more things done, that's why I'm suggesting it. And I just want you to ask yourself, do I feel this way because it means I have to commit to another night a month to the city? Is that why I'm is that why I feel about this way? And I don't think we have to vote on this tonight. I want to plant the seed and just telling you that I think we need to strongly consider this for the betterment of the
I
city
agree with
of Mountain
Jamie.
Grove.
Well, I'm gonna throw this out here. The more you meet, the more into micromanagement you get. We pay this lady right here, and this dude, she puts out a nice set of notes for us every month, and if you don't read them, that's your problem. Like the ordinances with the first reading, I read that ordinance tonight. We know what's coming up. We should make it our responsibility to contact her and say what's going on. But I'm just afraid we're gonna get to the point where micromanagement starts coming into focus and.
Well, I mean, I know, Jamie, you weren't here, but like I said, for the last 10 to 12 years, we've had meeting once a month and it's worked good. I mean, that's just my input.
As far as shortening, we could cut down some things. I mean, I assume you do like fire one meeting and police report the next meeting, or do them all in one and put more of the business in the other. You know, there were definitely ways to
I don't
shorten
think
it.
it's that part of it. I think it's like the swimming pool location.
Right.
We spent over 30 minutes talking about that.
But that's
And
not-
all we wanted to do was know the
Yeah.
location, not where the funding's gonna come from, not anything else. We just wanted to know where the location was.
And
We
here's-
spent 45 minutes last meeting talking about painting the fence.
And here's
So-
my thing, we get, everybody gets one of these, sends it out on Friday, and I know there was a discussion last time, well, we sent it out on Friday and have a meeting on Monday. Well, if you look at the agenda, and if you have a question, you know, and someone said about hearing their own voice or whatever, just ask Becky, and then that way it's taken care of, you know? I mean, let's come and discuss a little bit, if we need to discuss it and vote on it. You know, I think there's a little preparation, that used to be the big thing with the school board. I used to remember when they'd have a school board meeting. My school board members would come in and they'd rip the packet open the night of the meeting. They didn't even look at it. And we've had council members done that too now.
Oh,
with
yeah.
You just take it and they just rip it open and look at it and say, okay. A little bit of that prior, and if you have a question, ask Becky. But like I said, it's worked pretty good for 10 or 12 years, having one meeting and having a special meeting when you need to. But that's my 2 cents.
The only thing to that is ask Becky, and then everybody trying to ask her on the same day, and assuming you.
How
have
many
time
times in the
day.
same day have you had a councilman call you?
What do you mean? Same
How
day
many
of council-
councilmen have called you in one day asking about an agenda?
I mean, I usually have a couple,
Okay, there's 8 of us. She gets 2. She works how many hours a day? 10?
a lot.
Is that, 10
12.
is that? I know you work a lot. I
Well,
mean,
I
I'm sitting
call
there a lot.
Becky often, and I come in and see her often, but still, our meeting is the only time that we are all together to play devil's advocate, to discuss, to throw out different ideas for collaboration. It's important, I think, for the health of our council to be able to spend that time together on each agenda item.
Well,
They're
just-
all important, and sometimes we probably do get off track on certain items, and when we do that, you know, they're pretty good to draw us back in, but some things are just worthy.
Well, I do, but I don't wanna get accused of picking on people or trying to, you know, stop people from talking, and that's been done before. If I say, well, let's move on, well, we're not done yet, let's continue. And spending 45 minutes on one topic, you know, I mean, I hate to say, no, we're not gonna talk about that anymore, but, you know, I mean, we just kinda need to streamline a little bit. Kim and I's always got a joke going, you know, I tell her, I say, an hour tonight, she just laughs and says, not gonna happen. You know, so, but anyway, any other discussion?
I believe that if we have an issue or a project or whatever you want to call it, and if we need that second meeting a month, hey, I think that's great. I really do. If it's something that we don't want to put out there a month, I think that's great.
Because we can come in and talk about that one thing and not chase rabbits with everything else and get it done within that time. All right, Jamie, do you want to make a motion, or what do you want to do? You want to table it, or what's your?
Well, I wanna,
She planted the seed.
I planted the seed. Thank
And
you.
in the next few months, we'll have 2 meetings a month because the budget season's coming up too.
Yeah, we'll
We'll
have
have
some.
budget meetings. and
Yeah,
then
we'll
we'll
But
have
one of the
regular
things I
council
would like to ask, is it possible to get the agenda before noon on a Friday?
That is ordinance.
Because then I would like to see what because it used to be, when we had our meetings on Tuesdays, so we had extra time, because,
True.
I mean, I work Monday through Friday. If I get something on Friday at noon, for me to have a chance to call Becky, if I have questions about something,
It would take an ordinance. So right now, your
So-
ordinance says that people have an opportunity to be added to the agenda until noon on Friday. So that's why we don't set the agenda until noon on Friday, is because the public has an opportunity to be added to the agenda until noon on Friday. So we would just have to do an ordinance to change, or whatever you wanna change it to. And I understand what you're saying. We did move the meeting up a day.
Right.
And we did not change the
that
cutoff.
ordinance. So
Um,
that's something I would like to consider then, to give us a little bit more time.
Sure.
Because that's one of the problems I specifically have, is if there are things, like, I kind of have to wait until I'm here on Monday night to talk much more about it, because
Sure.
I don't have the opportunity, that limited
Yeah. It would
amount
just
of
take
weekdays.
It would just take an
So-
ordinance if you guys wanna do that.
Well, I know, I mean, and the other thing too, if you look at the agenda, say Friday night, Saturday, during the day, Sunday, whatever, or Monday morning or whatever, you have an opportunity to either call Becky or email her. I mean, that's the
I
thing.
get what she's saying, though, that we did cut down a day, so that leaves one less workday.
Yeah.
So
I
I
had
get
6
that.
meetings today, which led me right up until I basically had to come here. So it
What
didn't
time
really
was the
leave me an
ministry report
opportunity
attached? Was it
to
this
do that.
morning that your report?
Yeah.
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 I mean, it was just a.
So to move forward.
Nothing that is required, the only thing that we're required to do is post the agenda. All of the attachments, there's no requirement currently in your ordinances that says everything has to be attached to it until, we try to get everything on there early enough that you guys
So we
can
can't be
see it.
prepared on Monday night then with our, we have to open our packet here.
I mean, we try to make sure you
Virtually.
guys have everything early enough that you can review it all. We don't
I
always
mean,
have.
my thing is with the agenda and stuff, I got off work at 4. I'm not gonna lie, that's when I opened this up and looked at it. At 4, I read your notes, I looked at the cash report, I looked at the bills. By 5:30, 20 till 6, it was done. Now, if we had to look at, I might be more inclined, but it's not a whole lot. That's my 2 cents.
I mean, it's really just council preference, honestly.
Can we put this on the agenda for next time?
That's up to you guys.
Okay. Is that what you want, Jimmy, put on the
I'd
agenda?
be comfortable with that, give everybody a chance to kind of digest and
All right.
maybe come back for some more collaboration.
All right, good enough. Moving on, water,
Planted the seed.
wastewater treatment plant building.
Okay, you guys have
Don't
some.
go out there and don't be climbing around on that building.
Well, I mean, you're welcome to go out there and take a look at it. We're trying to figure out options of what to do. The building is getting, things are flying off of it, aren't they, Sean? I have Sean here tonight in case you guys want to ask him some questions, but I think Randy just got hit in the head by a piece that was falling off the building.
Sean, you have a hard hat?
Right here.
No, I'm serious, do you have a hard hat out there?
No.
Okay.
You generally don't. You know, the design of the building wasn't, maybe they did a lot of them that way, where they just stack them on top of each other instead of staggering the blocks. But that allows for a lot more water to get down in that. The guys basically need room for, the lab and their area that they break in and stuff has to be separate, and then a restroom. That's about all they need out there. That's why we were considering possibly just doing a storage type building and just kind of renovating it, setting it off to the left. We don't have a lot of places we would want to put it because we have a lot of underground stuff that runs at the treatment plant. And then my thoughts were later on, if we are going after funding for expansion of the treatment plant, that may include in those phases a building that would house the lab and stuff for the treatment plant. I don't know, I have looked up some options on what to do around the brick, on the brick, to extend the life of what we have. I've not found anything very cost effective to do that. I am definitely open to suggestions if you guys know of something. There are some things out there. Dale, Sean told me that you went out and looked at it today.
Yeah,
What's your thoughts on it?
Tear it down, build a new one.
I think it's got life left in it.
Oh,
But I'm coming from a paint viewpoint, you know, I see peel and paint, I see peel and plaster, but it hasn't had a healthy or jitter slope coat of paint in many, many years. And that's the reason you got some of the decay, because the paint's so thin. And, I mean, one, you can go back and tuck point the concrete, let it cure, and go back and put block filler on the blocks, and then put 2 coats of paint. Side has the weather, the inside wasn't too bad except for the one north wall.
So when you looked at it, what's falling, the blocks?
Well,
They're disintegrating, basically.
a few blocks had some concrete chips, or some, one area about that one downspout was not a flood, but just 100 years of dripping water, or 40 years of dripping water at one spot. One spot has a decay of that area, but that could be filled with concrete again.
But as far as structure of the walls, this way, did you
I
see
didn't push
it?
against it, but it looked really nice inside for a block building.
Is the ceiling rafters, are they metal, they wood, peak on it to hold it?
I thought they were steel trusses at the top.
It's steel.
You know,
It's got a new roof too.
I mean, on the outside layer, on the east and the north side, the top 2 rows had decay from that direction.
Well, the roof was
On the
let
tuck
go
point.
for a long time, and I think that contributed to a lot of the water issues that have caused the decay. Chief, do you wanna speak to anything on your inspection out there of it?
Just looking at it, like, I don't know how the walls are tied together. All I'm going off of is what I can see, and like the pictures that I attached, there's crack in the mortar all the way up on basically both corners of that north wall. Sean pointed out a section where they heard a pop while they were standing inside, and came out and saw a crack running lengthwise on the west wall? The west wall where that garage door is, over above the man door and stuff. You know, again, that's kind of why I recommended maybe getting a structural engineer out to take a look at it, because I'm no structural engineer, I didn't go to school for that. But it's one of those things that, you know, it's definitely showing it's 40+ years of age.
My main concern is the safety for the employees. I'd hate
Same.
to have someone, you know, but I do agree with you. I think we need to get a structural engineer out there, or tow for somebody to look at it, and I know it's gonna cost a little bit, or a local contractor that knows what's going on. But an engineer would be the one to say, you know, do this, like Dale's talking about, do this or do that, and you could fix it, and it may not take
Didn't
that.
Don Lutz do that for us, Fred?
He's retired, he may, I mean, he could do that.
Yeah, he's an engineer.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think he did some stuff on Masonic, looked at it, I think maybe he would, maybe.
When we redo the treatment plant,
We're gonna expand it and redo some of the basins and stuff out there.
I don't know why I thought that, but I just thought when we did that, we would put a new,
You'll probably have to.
I
And-
thought, yeah, with,
Because we're gonna go back is the only way we can go when we expand it. And if they do that, then they're gonna put the lab and everything will be located more, probably central of where everything's at
and
back there.
I just thought when we did that, we'd do the whole shebang,
And if we fix this building now, it may be in the way of what the expansion is.
I don't know if it'll be in the way.
I mean,
because
where it's at
They probably
now.
are not gonna come back that way.
Or where it's at
But
now. If you tear it down, put it right where it's at now, but you're gonna move it back to
We
the
would take
east.
it to the left. When you
Right,
go through
right.
the gate, it would go to the left over
Right.
next to that power pole if we do it. If we put in more of a temporary structure.
And like you said, Becky, that may be grant money, if we get grant money to help with the building.
Maybe.
I mean, not count on that, but,
If it does, it'll mainly just be the lab portion.
right.
We would still probably have to, it'd be like a lab and restroom area.
And the question is it gonna be sturdy enough by the time we get the plans for the new treatment plant, the upgrades and everything to do that before the thing falls down?
I don't want anybody hurt. I
No.
don't want stuff flying off the building, hitting people in the head. You know, if you want me to get a structural engineer, we'll try to work with Toth and get them down. I just want us to,
What would that
it needs some
cost?
attention. We're gonna have to get something done.
How would it cost if we use that tow? a lot.
For them to come down, they'll probably charge us about $500 to come down and look at it.
That's safer than getting something fall on somebody's head or
Yeah.
something.
We
I don't
build,
know.
if we went with the building that you have in there, what are you gonna do with that building?
I mean, eventually tear it down. Wouldn't do anything with it right away, but
Well, that's what I'm saying.
but they
You
wouldn't
know,
be
if we
going
have a
in, they wouldn't be
concern-
going in and out of it.
Okay,
We're not gonna we're not gonna keep any of our stuff in there,
Okay.
if that's what you're asking. I don't want anybody hurt.
I don't
But
think it's
I am
bad.
open, if we think it can be salvaged, I am
have a
open to
structural
that.
engineer look at it and see what we need to do.
Yeah, I'd be for that, yeah.
I mean, I think it's money well spent. I mean, you know, it's like Dale, you know, we looked at it, but it's got cracks in it, they can come and tell you what it needs to be done. Get
I've
a-
learned
get the
more,
lift out
I've
there.
learned more about trying to shore up those type buildings, just going on the internet,
There's
just in the
nothing to
last.
show, once that
Well,
roof
they
is
have a
gone, I
new,
mean,
they have
there's-
some new things that they use to strengthen that, and you can put it on the front and the back, and then it's even paintable, and it's there. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I don't know how
What
cost.
you don't wanna get into is sinking more into it than.
Exactly, that's
you know,
my concern
uh,
too.
At work up there, we've got one store built, and it's nice.
Yeah,
It's
I
real
mean,
nice
that's what
on the
they
inside.
were looking at, and the one that we
But,
looked at is the guy that just put the new storage building thing in out here by Williams General Stores. where
Well,
we
you're
got-
talking about like at the gas place.
Mhm.
How big is it?
Oh, shoot, I don't know.
Is it insulated and everything?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But I'd be glad to have them come down and take a look
Is
at
that
it.
agreeable with the council? I mean, we've discussed it, just to have an engineer come look at the building.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
I'd
I
do
think
the
it helps
motion,
us
yeah.
make a.
Sorry.
Need a motion?
We need a motion?
I mean, I got the authority to spend that
Yeah,
kind of money.
yeah, we're good, okay. All right, next thing, Becky, you wanna go through your administrative report?
Yeah, see what we haven't covered. Grant update, Lake Lily, you know, there's not been a lot of progress on that, just due to weather. I mean, it'll pick up more as the weather gets better. Bulldog is almost complete. We're getting really, really close. The lift station is in, they've been testing it. MoDOT has hired the engineer to do their side of the extension, and they are working with Toth on the plans for that part of the project.
Becky, are they going to go where the road turns?
They'll go across where the trailer place is and along what my understanding right now is it'll go along the north side of the road,
North side all the way out?
in MoDOT's right away.
Are those people out there along there, are they gonna be able to, it's just sewer, not water?
Yeah, so it's pressurized, so yes, the answer is yes. Can people be added on? Yes.
Okay, but once they build it, is it gonna be the cities or is it gonna be MoDOT?
It'll be cities,
And then people
because
will
it's gonna
pay to
have a
get-
lift station and it'll be turned over to us.
And then the people will pay so much to get onto it out there from the city.
Cost them is just their fees for meters and stuff
Okay,
like
all
that.
right.
So if somebody wants to hook up and they live east, but the people before their house don't wanna be hooked up, what do we charge them to hook up?
Well, if the line runs past their house, they would be able to hook up, but if you're talking about extending the line, then that's gonna cost that person to extend the line.
They
Across
have
the
to
road.
pay for all that.
They would have to pay to extend it from our main. If-
So, but if you get 3 or 4 houses in a row that want to hook up,
then they would share that expense to extend from our main, or you guys could make that call, whether you want to annex them in or extend it to them. That would be up to council.
okay, because I've been asked.
Right.
Can I say something on that?
Yeah.
If it is a pressure line, that house would have to have a lift station at their house to look into our pressure
Yes.
line.
So like where the church wants to add on out there past that joins the state shed, they're asking about being added on. They will have to have a lift station, which we have explained to them.
So when you talk pressure, is it because the line's lower or higher or?
No, it's not gravity fed, so MoDOT has a lift station if there's pressure in that.
Same as we do at Bulldog.
Yeah, it'd be pushing, that pump will push their sewer to our plant, to our next lift station.
So
which would be Bulldog.
so the church will have to have a pressure to push it to that line?
And some of the people that you're talking about that we're asking that live on the business route, same thing would happen for them. They would have to have a lift station because it's not gonna gravity flow to our system.
And they pay for the lift station.
They would have to pay for the lift station.
But if we annex, say from Westgate all the way in, houses, then what happens?
Still requires someone to have a lift station though, if to be added on, if it's not gravity fed into our system. You could still require them to pay for the lift station. That would be a council call.
Cause Sean, is lift station expensive? You know, I mean, if you
I
got,
don't know off the top of my head.
I mean, it would
I
depend
know what our
on,
pumps cost, I wouldn't know what a house costs. They'd be
I wanna say, like Toby Thompson has done some,
3 to 5, ain't it?
3 to 5, I'm gonna say, for just a residential
Okay.
one, yeah. No, I
cause
think that is.
I know they're not,
Yeah,
Toby
I'd
had said to me.
yeah.
Probably
I
not
guess
3
it's not
anymore.
$5.
100?
Thousand.
Okay, that's what I thought, was thousand,
Sorry.
but
Sorry.
we're just talking in,
Because you got a pressure, you got a chopper, because it chops it, pushes it. Yeah, okay. And they don't last forever.
Okay, any other questions on that? Of course, we have the money approved for the Bush Street, mill and overlay, but we won't be doing that again until we get to the time of year that they're, doing hot mix again. Stiles Roofing has about another day to finish, but they have not come back and finished it yet. The city shed, I don't know if you've been by the new site where it's going up. The red iron is up. There should be framing out the doors. He was saying metal by next week, or by this week, but, now with all the weather and stuff that's happening this week, that's probably gonna throw us behind.
Looks good.
Talked about 20th Street, Masonic Lodge, the meters, the home serve, construction, treatment plant building. The Myrma loss control evaluation rating, Kelly Beats with Myrma came in and did our evaluation. Kim and Annie are the ones that work really hard on making sure we meet all those requirements. We received a 97%, which is a great rating.
Good job, Kim.
thank you.
The only way to reach 100 was to get a fence around the caboose. That's one thing.
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Is there any, is there any way we can get a group to go in and fix up that caboose? It looks
Well, I
terrible.
know what we need to do, we just need to bite the bullet and do it.
Just
So,
paint it, fix it up, put a fence around it.
we just have to get a fence around it.
It
We
had
don't
a
have to-
fence around it at one time.
It did.
What happened to it?
Well, they took it down because it defeated the whole purpose of having the caboose there for people to.
They like to
you know,
climb up there and
climb
take
up there
pictures.
and-
Yeah.
But having the fence, it
have a
doesn't have
fence?
to be a massive fence, but it just has to be a fence to discourage people from
Can
climbing.
we get it fixed and have a gate where they can go in and take a picture and come
No,
out?
no.
It's gotta be fenced off completely.
Yes. And
it's
then-
painted.
And an
It needs
employee incentive safety program was some kind of program they want us to incentivize safety for our employees by offering some type of incentive, and we're working on that. I don't know if
We won't have a lot of
you've,
employees hurt, but, I mean,
no, well, little stuff, nothing major. Our tennis courts that we had resurfaced at the end of last summer have several spots that are cracking, bubbling up. I've contacted the company, they said they haven't even come down and looked at it yet. She said if they have stuff to come back and do, it would have to be warmer weather before they can do it. The IDC and some other groups that are getting together now, they are wanting to apply to the IDA board. Do you guys know what everybody familiar with what the IDA board is? There's an Industrial Development Authority board that is appointed by the county commissioners, and they receive tipping fees from the landfill that's in Wright County. And that money has to be used towards economic development in the county. And the IDC group, along with several others that are now getting together, IDC is our local industrial development, they want to apply to the IDA for a full-time economic developer for Mountain Grove. And they've asked me to be the person to go and meet with the IDA board to see what their feelings are about having that person. They would like to see, we've discussed where that person would be housed and stuff, and it is I told him that it's a possibility, it's totally up to the council about housing the person here at City Hall. We do have a couple of extra offices that we don't use. One of them mainly, is here just off of this hallway. That's not used at all anymore since we don't have court here.
So this is the IDC wants to do this, and they want you
Well,
to go
it's
to
a,
IDA?
there's a group of people that have been getting together, that's IDC, Twin Cities Board, myself, the Economic Development Group, the Chamber, who am I leaving out? There's several agencies that got together. IDC is kind of spearheading it. They feel like it would really be beneficial to have a full-time economic development person for Mountain Grove, and I mean, you can't really argue with that if you have somebody that's their full-time job and they can go and they can meet and they can get the resources and the contacts and bring money in. It would be a great thing for our community, but
Who's gonna pay them?
it would be they're gonna ask for the IDA. The IDC would put some money into it. If we housed them, that would be kind of our contribution towards it. And then, they're hoping that the IDA will help fund.
Who is part of IDC?
So IDC has, let's see, Patsy Worrell, Peterson,
They're the ones over here in the industrial over here?
yes, that have the industrial park. Steve Moody,
Okay.
Larry Kemper.
Okay.
That's ones I can think of offhand. I think I'm leaving one or two out, but,
Okay. Thank you.
Be Reggie?
When?
I mean, they'll advertise. I mean, they will want to fill the position, so.
See, we was already above the curve. I mean, we already had them.
Yeah, it'd be quite a commute for me.
Yeah.
Can you work from your laptop for Houston?
I could.
Yeah, we
And
can
then-
see if it has to be housed here.
Do you guys want to, we have sponsored, the, Foster Adopt Connect and chamber events and stuff. This is the Pregnancy Resource Center. They're having their annual fundraiser banquet. If you want to host a table, our gold level sponsorship is $1,000 and over. Silver level sponsorship, $500 to $999. D to $499. And then you can have a table at the event.
I think it's in March.
It is March 21st,
Yeah.
and it is out at the
Shettlers.
Shettlers building.
They sent that to
Mr.
me.
Mayor.
Yes.
Back to the IDC. When I was here, I was their, I guess, secretary. And we used to have meetings. Well, we had a bank account. Let me rephrase that. They had a bank account. And I even forgot what bank it was. But I thought that was dissolved. I mean, because when this one administrator found out that there was money, and it wasn't like more than $2,000, I believe it went back to the city.
I don't know about all that. I think I don't know what funding they have now.
I was gonna say, because when, of course, I've been gone, I'm going on my 5th year, so things can change.
I do know that they have offered to cover part of the cost of the person.
So, somehow they got some money, 'cause
Well, I think they sold some of
They
the
sold some of
property
that
in the
property.
industrial.
Yes, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna throw that in there.
That would be good.
Person here. Since
Sounds all right.
I think
It's
it'd be
the most
great.
logical place.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. All that.
I mean, they would just be housed here. They wouldn't really be, I mean, it would just be an office for them.
I think it would be convenient because they'd have a place to meet with prospective people and do things.
Anybody else?
I mean, is there a risk by having somebody who's a non-city employee housed here doing work? What they're exposed to?
If you keep them over in this area, they would not be, with that being closed off, they would not be privy to most of the conversations that would take place over there, just privacy issues. But I can't say that they would never come in contact with something that might not be good.
would they have to be covered by the city's work comp?
We would just be providing housing for them, just an office space.
Years ago, when the Farm Credit Bureau, I believe, down in the valley, Mr. Chastain was over that, it flooded. Their building down there flooded, and they used these rooms back here for I don't know how many months.
Was there ever any issues with it?
And don't they use the senior center didn't they use it for license, and didn't they have someone housed down there too?
We have a license bureau down there.
But there was never an office or someone in there all the
Just let
time?
them use a room.
There was a veteran.
That's right.
She used to come here.
Right.
And then I guess when it burned,
I mean, we had,
during that transaction of building the new one, she was here.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's part, I mean, we can check the insurance, but, I mean, if they're here, that's part of our insurance, 'cause.
And Rosa All, Rosa All, years ago.
City collector used to be.
She was
for
the county collector, or the mountain township collector. She used to come here every fall and collect
money.
taxes.
Yeah,
And we have housed extension people up here.
Oh, yeah.
that was the thing, yeah. I mean, our insurance would have to, and the people that hire them would have to have they have insurance too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be up to the IDC and different ones to figure out exactly what that benefit package would
And-
look like for somebody.
And the IDA is gonna have to come through with some money.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Carmen. Back to this. I think they do a good job, but, and the lot where the farmer's market was theirs, the city bought it back, and then they had support other things, so they sent this to me and they said one to Becky, and I said, hey, let's just take it to the council and see what the council wants to do.
You've not done any previous years?
Not with these.
Does this follow the grant application, or is this?
You're sponsoring a table at their event,
Sponsored
like
for a
we've done
fundraiser.
for,
Like we do for the chamber awards and the foster
Right,
dog
chamber
thing.
awards and all
and the
that.
foster
The
adoption.
organization's what?
Pregnancy Resource. It's right down there by the playground.
They're housed right next to the health department.
They help a lot of people around here.
So do you need a
We should.
motion?
Motion for an amount
I don't know if we
to
do similar to what we do at Foster
Yeah, what have
Dog
we done
Connect.
for others?
Foster Adopt Connect, I think we did
It
a
was
sizable
1,000.
amount.
Yeah, it was
That's what I was
1,000.
thinking, but I'm not for sure.
It was more than that.
Well, wasn't
I
it?
think it was 5.
Yeah, it's 5,000.
I think we did 5,000 for Foster Adopt Connect.
The different levels for this one?
1,000 is the gold level sponsorship.
How many people does that come with? Does it
I think
say
it's a
per
table of 8.
8, yeah.
Make a motion that we sponsor gold level
Okay.
table.
Motion to second to $1,000. Now, the next question is, be thinking if, on that date when Becky gives it to you, if you can attend that.
It says March
March
21st.
21st.
All in favor?
To fill it.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
We have, Reggie is here, and so unless you have some other questions for me, I'm gonna let him give you an update on what he's been working on.
Thank you, Reggie.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, first thing we'll go to, dealing with your city, the square property, just so that you guys know, actually, shortly thereafter, when the land got leveled, we actually did start some active meetings determination of what we're gonna do with it. And there's been actually a couple different channels of pursuits. While the bank had it, we had to defer a little bit to some of the interest that they wanted. Well, I shouldn't say they wanted, that they thought was the best. And so it actually caused us to pursue a couple interests and then have to pull back, like an art center, and then we, a convention kind of center, and then they thought that it clashed with some other private interests, and we didn't want to Okay, so then we started going for grocery stores to replace some of the ones that had left. On that, we run against demographic challenges as well as then, and that's from the stores themselves, because I looked at 3 different chains, and that was their comments. The other is the location. Although they like the square, they thought if they did come here, they wanted highway visibility. So you had that challenge. Next thing that we then pursued another channel was family, where you had multiple interactive activities, and or maybe you had a concept of maybe like a brewery with the dining or something like that. So a lot of these were discussed. I know it's council, but I was kind of letting him get the information. So because they've heard a lot of this. So as that was discussed, then we would kind of go a different direction. City now has it again. We deferred a little bit to find out about the parking garage. That now has also changed. So now you're back to very much ground zero, starting over. Any concept could fly, and now you got to find from ground up building, what have you. So that's where that is. It's been quite a road. Okay. So we will get back to promoting that. I think on the suggestion of the for whatever it's worth as your consultant, on the suggestion of an IDA or IDC, if you guys should choose that route, something that I had mentioned 5 years ago when I came, and that I've noticed, you guys have multiple economic development groups that have interests, but they're very segmented. They very much work in silos. It would be really nice if you guys could somehow finally blend them. The other thing is, if you do get the opportunity for that person to be housed here, I would do that, just so that you have a little more, I think, control or identity for that opportunity. That's just whatever my humble suggestions, you guys doing that. The next thing on the dining and shopping collateral, this is a piece, I do want this back, this is a sample. It was done in color. This is something that the foundation actually printed and paid for, that we did for special event. We had thousands of these created up. The chamber still has some. We use them for a special event, something we can go doing forward. For whenever you have tournaments, it was done for some of the high school tournament events, in which they gave out to all the families that came for I think, some of the track events. The chamber still has some. And again, it's in color. Council didn't pay for that, city didn't pay for that. That was something out of the foundation that we created to fund it. And we had several thousand done. I think the chamber still has some. But that look, we just want to get it back. The national recruitment retailers plans, that's stuff that we'll continue to go back on, that we've looked for. I've voiced to you before some of the challenges with the restaurants, grocery stores and things is our demographics challenge. Then we get into location challenge, where we do get some interest. They do want some highway locations. Then we've also, for the past years post-COVID, during COVID and post-COVID, you ran into just simple economic climate of development. I think from recent, I was a keynote at an SIOR convention in Houston, which is the Society for Industrial and Office Realtors, and then also for CCIM, which is the commercial real estate members. And there is a shared optimism in the market, and maybe it's change of administration, maybe it's just improving an economy. You can tag it however you want. But we do think probably the next 12 to 18 months, there's going to start being a little more optimism and opportunity, and things will probably have a change in market. And we think there's going to be some opportunities, again, of redevelopment. And therefore, I think you'll have maybe some retailers or opportunities that we might be able to go after again. In the past, I've always gone to ICSC, depending upon if you do decide to get the other person, or if I'm still consulting at that time, I will be going back to ICSC for other projects. So usually what I would do is, when I would go, is we would charge a little bit of the cost of the city, and then my groups would pay for the rest. So if we do that, I will be going back to ICSC. What that is that's International Council as a shopping center. The big mega event is every year in May in Las Vegas, and that was where we pulled hotel choices that you guys got a hotel from. We pulled some restaurants. We originally had one of the restaurants from there until COVID hit. And that's where your other national retailers that I meet with, that we've talked to before, like Hibbett's, Shoe Sensations, things like that. So we'll go back and find out what the climate is for them. We have a couple of them that did have interest in this market. There were 3 I've mentioned before, and they had some things are on the books, and so they put some stops at things because they had to finish those commitments. So we'll go back, and if it interests you, good. If not, I still have other groups that I have to go back for anyway, and we'll find out what the atmosphere is, if they could be revamped to come here. Because I do still think those three we've talked about would be great opportunities for you. And again, too, if the person comes on, we would pass that information on to them and let them then kind of pursue and go in. Small town, we're still going after ongoing tournaments and things. That you got your hotel base. We have an award that I went to Jefferson City and received. Met with your Lieutenant Governor, David Waysinger, and then the Executive Director and the Project Director for Missouri Humanities. And so this is an award that you got for the showcase that we did that was televised, and we were one of the original groups that were done. I think actually, in fact, we were the first one filmed, and now then I think they have about 20. So they've continued the program out for the past 2 or 3 years, and it's been a very successful program. We got to witness all of those that have been created, and that is, not only do you have the video, but now you've got that to show for it. So that, enjoy. We did recently have the meetings, updates for the committees, for your tourism committee, review of Winterfest, and then I think with that, as well as the foundation meetings. Other things on your new business that we have discussed that would be looked at is some of the website revision. We do have a current website, but we've had some discussion, and Liz Citron, who is the chair for the MGEDF, will probably kind of help spearhead. There's some things we'd like to do on the current website to expand it out. Some updated pictures, because if you look at the Mountain Grove website and you just watch the visuals, it looks a little outdated, and then one of the pictures makes us look very they aren't the best visual input. There's also some elements of the site that needs to be updated that are a little more at current market or attraction for commercial and for economic development. We do have a commercial properties site that we had created. We have a link set up that's going to go to that. I think she's going to get with Bobby. So there's going to be a master link that will be all commercial properties. In a suggestion, which I guess Bobby, or for the city, since technically you guys have the ownership to it. For the foundation part, though, is that we would let Liz be kind of a bit of a master overview for quality control, due to her designation as the chair for the real estate background. It doesn't have a conflict of interest, because anybody that represents a commercial property, they're still the listing agent. All it is then that she makes sure the criteria is listed adequately and in detail that would be necessary for an outside person if they're looking for a site or if they're looking for a potential commercial property. Because you need to have some quality control and you need to have somebody monitoring that. I think she's the good candidate to have it. Whether you pick her or not, you need somebody pretty much exactly like her, in my opinion. The other thing is that we're still looking for some of the listings. I've got a software program that I've used on some other groups that we're going to interact for the Mountain Grove area, which is a new online site in which they basically go for visual listings. In filming, you had site selectors that would come out, and where maybe you were going to film a movie or video, but it's kind of an old school system, and they still primarily use it. But they're with media and with all the stuff that's going on, and now then between Netflix does videos, Amazon does videos. There's so many production companies now. They've been able to source, so you can list everything from your own kitchen, or if you have maybe a really cool backyard, or like we have even the cemetery and some other great features here, you can list those, and they can scan through like a library and go, oh, we should go and film there. We need that site. So we're going to list some of these visuals. I've already got the first year or two here. We'll go and list those on there. Next thing is the site selectors. In the industry for economic development, you have site selectors. They are they are individuals and or a group or a company that represents possibly multiple retailers. They could represent multiple industrial groups. Some are attorneys, some are EDC people. So usually what you'll do is you'll invite them to come in, you'll host them as a site selector, With the budget size of town we'd have, it'd probably only be 3 to 5 for this kind of scope, but it would probably be a group that has multiple representatives. Like, for example, we go to ICSC, a lot of times you might go to a company and you'll see their booth, and they will represent maybe 20 different restaurants. Where before the restaurants might have had to have their own real estate department, they've got more efficient and they let one company represent them and there'll be multiples. So you would ask them, you may have to pay, they may not just due to conflicts of interest, but you might at least offer to pay for their flight, at least put up their hotel, and then we would show them sites that we suggest, depending on who they are, right? We think it's a restaurant or if it's interactive, so we invite them and go, these are the sites we'd like for you to look at. We will pay for your airfare. You know, please come here, we'll pay for your hotel, because we have a nice hotel now, and we'll host you. And so it'd be like about a 2-day event. You take them around, show them the sites, let them meet the city. Probably if we did something like that, council, it'd be a good idea for council to come. You might even do like a meet and greet, kind of a mixer or something like that, maybe the chamber host or what have you. It'll be a formal program, it should at least be a day long, maybe they take out the next day. This is something that the foundation has a little bit of a fund. This is one of the things I proposed for the foundation to pay for. So the city wouldn't even have to do that. Or, depending on what the cost is, it might be something that you'd ask the city to contribute a small amount, but it is a more aggressive way of getting people on site to look at the hole in the square, as people call it, or your other things. But that would be directed at potential and active site selectors, okay?
Reggie,
Yes, sir.
is there companies out there that do that, are paid to do that, and they go out, they're kind of liaison with these other companies, they say, yes, we went here, and
Yeah,
we, you know.
Yeah. yeah, that's exactly what the,
And then if they sell that city to someone, then they get paid in the city, you know, whatever.
well, most of them usually represent the retailers or the companies looking for sites.
But it could be more than one.
Yeah, usually, now some, the bigger groups may just have an individual one, but what you've seen more and more in the industry is people are, they'll have a site selector in a company, and it will represent.
So like, say, 20 fast food places.
Yeah, yeah.
It may not just be Burger King.
No, yeah,
It
yeah.
could be,
Yeah.
and they could come in and say, you meet the demographics for a Steak and Shake
Yeah.
or whatever, Applebee's or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's even, ICSC is where a lot of them are at too. So that was a part of it when I'd go to ICSC in Las Vegas, I would go, and you had the individuals, like before the hotels have their own group. So we went and met with the hotels first when we started all that, like the hotel. And then some of the bigger groups, you go and see too. But now what most of the methodology is, and what I was going before, is I would go to the bigger groups, and you'll see them, they will show you all the tags of who they represent, pretty big list, and you go talk to them then. And you meet with that group and go, this is what we have, this is our demographics, this is the highway count, you know, they just want to know the runs and the traffic flow. And then you just discuss that, and you try to get them to come in. And that's, to be aggressive, more proactive, that's, I think, your next approach.
And you get more money for bang for your buck when you do that.
You do, and then not only that, they're not probably going to come unless they really think they have interest.
Right.
So what it does is it flushes out, it's a good reality check for you to know, you know, we asked all of them and nobody wanted to come. Or, well, we got 2, and they represent a total of 50 groups. They think maybe 5 out of the 20 they represent, 2 out of the 20 they represent, whatever. But it will give you a real litmus test of where you probably are in the market and your expectations. Your other drivers are going to probably be, which is very good actually for Mountain Grove, local talent, local personas that have good entrepreneurships and they develop their own concepts. Mountain Grove is very great about that. But the glass ceiling that we've been trying to break and we're trying to push, and we're actually on the edge of that when COVID hit, is to get national chains in here. Just for example, the way Mountain Grove looks, and maybe you go to West Plains, and there's a lot of national chains. You know, at some point you got to hit that, and you break that glass ceiling, and then it begins. And you start, other national retailers come. And you do have some from your fast food groups. Actually helped with some of the conversations we had, and even some of the conversations with the hotels years ago, was that your fast food, all their concepts were actually cutting edge prototypes. So it showed that there's current interest here, and that you guys have good numbers. That, you know, there's some little litmus tests for them to view and see. So that was what I took, the pictures and those numbers, believe it or not, like your Taco Bell and the groups like that, because they had current build-outs that showed there has to be some money going on there. And good traffic flows, or they wouldn't have done that. So you gotta get back to that. So, the other element that I have then is a direction of council. So then this is your time to give direction to council.
Okay, council, any questions? Any questions for Reggie, any comments?
I talked pretty fast, but I was trying to help you guys out, because man, you had some doozies. I'm telling you, sometimes I want to throw stuff at you, because I just go, you gotta be kidding me. I won't detail it, but man, I'm telling you, you guys gotta just learn to. Never mind.
All right, any questions? Thanks, Reggie, appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, we have some bills to pay.
Motion.
Have motion to pay the bills, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor?
I'm gonna give these to.
Aye. Aye. All opposed, adjourn? Thank you, go home.